After putting Angel to sleep in the parlor, Genji and the others returned. Thanks. Was she sleeping well? Yes, she is sleeping peacefully. The noise from here won't reach the parlor, right? That's right. The door is closed and I don't think it will reach. Angel, sweet dreams. Well then, that's enough solemn farewells. Let us begin the magnificent festivities. Let us begin the magnificent festivities we have planned for the after party. When Beato clapped her hands loudly above her head, a white flash filled the hall, and its entire appearance changed in an instant. The hall had transformed into a golden party chamber with gold butterflies flittering about and gold leaf dancing everywhere. Yes, the true party shall now begin. You said it. Okay, the anti-magic toxin is totally gone. Everyone, come on in. The party after the show is about to start. With a burst of applause and cheering, a tornado of gold butterflies rose up in the center of the room. By the time it passed, the number of faces had grown significantly. Let the witch of the future find happiness, and let us of the past be rewarded for our efforts, right? Indeed. Let us enjoy ourselves as well. Come on, haven't we been enjoying ourselves the whole time? In this world, the one who enjoys the most is the true winner. Come, let's have the seven sisters over here too. The seven sisters of purgatory, right here. I can't believe the game is finally over. Leviathan, you and me both. Do you think you're doing crying at the after party? You little crybaby. No, Butler, Beatrice-sama, thank you for your invitation. I wanna see 6-year-old Angel-sama's sleeping face and have it all to myself. I wanna see the food and have it all for myself. Then I wanna see a good man and have it all to myself. Why are you clinging to Butler when you say that? Stop it, you thief! Good to see you, Seven Sisters of Purgatory. Enjoy yourselves. Oh yes, things do get much noisier the moment they enter the room. And what makes that so terrible? In fact, it is still nearly it isn't. In fact, it still isn't nearly noisy enough. Another gold cyclone rose up. In its wake, 3 people with bunny ears came into view. Siester Sister Imperial Guards, right here. It's such an honor to be summoned to do a gathering such as this. I haven't had nearly enough fun for it to end yet. There, I agree with you. But fear not, for our game will continue much longer than this. For eternity, inside the cat box. Glad to have you here, Sister Sisters. Lord Butler, allow me to express our deep gratitude for your invitation. In the future, we will endeavor to show even more... Come on, don't be so stiff and formal. Tonight we're all equal. That's right, yeah. Butler gets it, yeah. Stop it, 410. You're getting carried away. We'll get in trouble. Oh. Hey there, Richard. Long time no see. Wow, how long it's been since we had so many of us here. Not since Natsu's trial, right? And you could hardly call that a party. If you're talking about a party, you'd better try and not leave us out of it. Dang, just how many of them are there? If they keep coming like this, there'll be more of them than us humans. You can come out now, Sakutaro. Oh. Lord Butler, it was an honor to receive your invitation. Let it be known that it is an honor. Hey, glad you came. It's been a long time, how have you been? Very well, thank you. Fighting with you all is always the most fun. I've had enough of stamping documents. For the attention of Supervisor Dlanor, know that your to-do box is piling up as we speak. For your attention, please make haste with the approval of your vacation papers. We are anxious to see this matter resolved. Sounds like life in a great court is as restrictive as ever. Lord Butler, I fear I must bring you some unfortunate news. What is it? Dlanor held out an envelope. It was of an invitation card that Butler sent out for this night's party. The name of the card was Furudo Erika. We did all we could. The invitation was filled with stamps bearing the unreadable words of various foreign countries. Even without reading them, it was easy to guess that he had been returned to the sender, destination unknown. I see. Thanks for trying so hard. The depths of oblivion are like an empty, endless desert, or perhaps the bottom of the sea. Her location is unknowable to all but Lady Bernkastel herself. I did send invitation to those witches too. We'll have to hope that they have the kindness to bring her along. Lady Bernkastel is just like a cat. She'll show up whenever she feels like it, and when she doesn't feel in the mood, she'll never come. And when she doesn't feel in the mood, she'll never come no matter how often you call her. Yeah, that kid's totally like a cat. She'll come to get her food, but she won't let you pet her head. Lambda Delta, so you came. Believe it or not, I'm a busy person, okay? Still, I am Beato's guardian. Wasn't I your guardian too? So anyway, you know, I got responsibilities and all of that. And I happened to be in the neighborhood, so I stopped by. Oh, hey, you, Goda? I brought a bunch of stuff for everyone. Could you please, could you put these wherever for me? For someone who just stopped by because she was in the neighborhood, she had brought an awful lot of colorfully wrapped bottles and food boxes. Bernkastel isn't here yet. You really think she'd come? She's not the kind of kid who just dropped by to say hi at a game she'd lost. Probably. After all, she is very proud. I seem to remember her putting us through hell. But she's still one of the players in this game. Might as well have her over to celebrate the final night of the final game. You're right. Without that kid, this game might not have reached its conclusion. Enemies and allies are the bare minimum needed to establish a game. True. Without a foe, there can be no game. At least I can enjoy defeat as just another part of the game. That kid can't. Too bad, but she's been through a lot. So please don't blame her too harshly. Actually, I was planning to thank her. A lot of crazy stuff happened, but thanks to her, we were able to make it to where we are today. Thanks. I don't know when I'll see her next, but if I'm lucky, I'll get my chances in a few hundred years. I'll let her know that you said that then. Ah, that's right. Then, they don't have an invitation, but I've brought 2 guests with me. Guests? Who? I'm pretty sure I sent invitation to all the usual suspects. Come on over, you two. I'll introduce you. Yay! When Lambda snapped her fingers, the empty air exploded and 2 figures appeared. Willard, if it isn't you! Hey, I see you're short as ever. Now here are some unfamiliar guests. Who are they? Hey, quit pinching my ass! Shouldn't we be introducing ourselves first? I'm fairly certain that Butler, Kun and the others in this world don't know anything about us. Well, don't know about us. You have the mark of the one-winged eagle on your clothes. Are you an Ushiromiya? My name is Ushiromiya Leon. In my world, we're cousins. Let me introduce Leon. This is the successor of the Ushiromiya family headship, who only appears in a world of extremely low probability. In that world, Jessica isn't an only child. She's Leon's little sister. E immagino che adesso Butler capisca istantaneamente. Oh, there's a surprise. There's really a world like that. Wait, you couldn't be... Pleased to meet you, Beatrice. I know quite a lot about you. Seeing you smiling happily is the greatest joy I can imagine. I'm more glad than anyone that you've made it to this point. I see. So it is you. I'm glad you're here. Beato realized who and what Leon was. The 2 of them stared at each other's faces as though looking at their own face in a mirror. Willard's the name. I'm just a passing stranger who got caught up in a game you know nothing about. He's an inquisitor of the great court, like myself. A truly great one, though he is now retired. I see. If you're Dlanord's friend, you can't be anyone bad. Please make yourself at home. And just where did these 2 come from? Ben brought them brought them in and made them pieces. When she was done with them and about to crush them, I picked them up. Ao said that she didn't want to be left with a bad aftertaste. Is that okay? If by chance Lady Bernkastel does drop by here. On this game board, they're my pieces, okay? And I'd love to see the look on that kid's face if she bumps into them in a place like this. Lambda Delta una bro. I don't really get it, but you obviously brought them here for some shady reason. That's all for my gifts. And now I'll just kick back and enjoy the party. So, you're the host, over to you. Come, Lord Butler. If you don't announce it, we can't start. The start of tonight's party and the end of this long, long game. Ladies and gentlemen, your silence please. Our territory lord, Lord Butler, has a message he wishes to convey to all of you. Enough of that. It's embarrassing. Come on, it is a wife's responsibility. I'm not letting anyone else take it. Beato sulked and handed Butler a glass of champagne. In fact, everyone had a glass in their hands now. Maria, you're a kid, so drink some juice instead. I want champagne too! Hey, Maria-chan, why don't we try some juice together? Butler, our drinks are getting warm. Agreed. Begin, Butler. No objections, I see. This way, please, Lord Butler. Renove motioned towards the center of the room. When Butler stepped forward, everyone silently awaited his words. Glad you could all make it. This marks the end of my long game with Beato. I've invited everyone who's been a part of this game as a piece, a player, or a game master. I hope you'll enjoy this unending night to the fullest. Cheers. Cheers! Everyone raised their glasses to the heavens as they cheered, and afterwards, the soft sound of glass clinking together rang out the room. Oddio, perché canzone triste. Only I was apart from all the fun noise. Maybe that was what did it. Before I realized it, my cheeks were wet with tears. I was lying on the sofa, covered by a blanket. I can just barely remember getting sleepy and falling asleep in a chair. Someone probably carried me here. I can't actually hear them, but I get the feeling that everyone's still in the hall having a good time. I want to go there too. No, I will go over there. It's what I've waited the whole time, but I've never tried to take the first step. I'll go where everyone is. My head still feels hazy, so there aren't any complicated thoughts in my mind. But that's okay. It's okay if my head's empty. I'll be together with everyone. I'll go to where they are. That's all that matters. I got up from the sofa and put on my shoes, which had been placed neatly for me to find. Let's go to where everyone is. The parlor door was shut. I tried to open it, but maybe because of my clumsiness, I couldn't get it to open. It was a bit creepy, as though the bad dream I just had was continuing. It won't open. Why? It isn't even locked. This was beginning to irritate me. The knob that locks and unlocks the door is on this side. I should be able to lock or unlock the door by twisting it. I turned it, click. The door won't open. Did I accidentally lock it just now? I turn it, click, the door won't open. It didn't open the last time, so it should have opened this time, but it didn't. Now I have no idea which way is unlocked. I kept on alternating between turning the lock and roughly twisting the doorknob. I started to become genuinely annoyed, wondering why they'd lock me away behind such an inconvenient door. Eventually I ran out of patience and pounded hard on the door, but the noise didn't bring anyone over. Why am I locked up in a place like this, all alone? And everyone else is having a fun party right there in the hall. Let me out of here. At that moment, a cold wind blew past me. The wind rippled through my hair. Wind? Inside? I turned around to find the window curtain waving about. There was a high-pitched squeal. At some point, the double window had opened outwards towards the darkness. The icy wind that came through told me that this window was the only exit out of this room. Huh? I suddenly realized that the darkness beyond the open window was glaring at me, and my tiny heart leapt. A cute, jingling sound rang out. Finally understood. That's the sound of a cat's bell. The glaring emerald eyes in the darkness were those of a cat standing in the open window. Its pitch black, luxuriant fur blended in with the darkness easily, leaving only the eyes visible. Did the Ushiromiya family own a cat? It has a bell on it, so it can't be a stray. It's a cat someone owns. At any rate, the cat standing by the window was standing by the window and staring straight at me. Who are you? Of course, the cat didn't answer my question. I didn't think it was a cute cat, but I thought it might be trying to tell me something, so I approached it slowly. Then the cat did an about face and turning its back to me, and then turned its head to look at me, almost as though it was telling me to follow it, and it leapt down into the darkness, leaving the jingle of its bell behind. When I peeked out of the window, I saw the cat waiting for me under the pounding rain. I finally realized the window was the only exit out of this locked room parlor. The cat had surely come to tell me that. The longer I keep standing around here, the longer the cat will have to wait in the rain. That's no good. It'd catch a cold. I climbed up onto the windowsill and went out of the window. The wind was strong and the rain was cold, but I didn't get as wet as I thought it would. I might have been in the mansion's shadow. When the cat saw that I was outside, it walked along the wall of the mansion as if guiding me. It quickly disappeared into the blackness, but every now and then it would turn around and set the bell jingling to let me know it was there. Eventually, a window with light seeping out came into view. It was the window to the hall. I peeked inside and saw everyone having a good time. I couldn't hear their voices, but they were all right there. Open up! Open up! I pounded on the window, but no one heard. Maybe the window was really thick, or maybe it was just too noisy inside. Or it might have been so dark outside that even I blended in with the darkness. At any event, no matter how much I hit the window, it didn't look as though anyone noticed. By this point, my loneliness was giving way to anger. Why don't you notice me? Why did you lock me up in that room all alone? I've had enough. I'll just get inside somehow and yell at everyone. When the cat realized that I'd given up knocking on the window, it led me onwards with another jingle. But just where is this cat going? I know it's following the wall of the mansion, but that's not the way to the front door. The front door might be locked. I'm sure the cat knows a place that I can get into the mansion from, and it's leading me there, away from the light seeping from the hall, and towards the blackness lit only dimly by the lights of the garden. The cat and I continued to walk. Then I found it. An open window. The cat stood below it, and looked between me and the window as though telling me to go inside. Thanks, kitty cat. I want to give you some milk to thank you. Won't you come with me? When I walked closer to pick the cat up, it slipped away from my hands and flew into the bushes in a nearby flower bed. Then, as though it really had melted away into the darkness inside the bush, all traces of it vanished. No matter how much I strained my ears, I couldn't hear the sound of that bell. Suddenly, the wind changed direction and the rain started to hit me fiercely. I can't stand in a place like this forever. I'll go inside. What room is this, I wonder? I climbed up onto the windowsill and entered the room. Then the window suddenly shut and locked itself. Good, that saves me the trouble of doing it myself. The room was completely dark. However, as my eyes got used to the darkness, I was able to make out a few things. It was a large room. There was a long table and many chairs. It was the dining hall. Perhaps because I realized this and was relieved, I was suddenly unable to see again. I searched blindly along the wall for the light switch. Then finally I felt a familiar shape. Wouldn't it be annoying if I pushed this and the light didn't come out? Click. In fact, it was nearly the opposite, and an annoying bright light filled the dining hall and made my eyes hurt. I slowly opened my tightly shut eyes. And then I saw the state of the room I was in. The dining hall was covered with blood, and there were people, many people, lying on the floor. Then I realized that 2 of them were my own parents. Hey, are you having a great time, people? Any kids who aren't having a good time will get eaten. Yell and sing the praises of tonight's banquet. The hall was alive with a mingling of humans and residents of the magical fantasy. At first, everyone stayed with their own groups, too nervous to mingle. However, as time passed, people started to move around and both halves began to chat happily together. Oh mio Dio, questa è una cosa che non avrei mai potuto immaginare prima. Voglio vedere che coppie ci sono. Anyway, they never listen, do they? Leadership is important. You've got to lead by example if you want anyone to follow you. Maybe some subordinates are like that, but I've never had any success with ordinary methods. All I know is if your subordinates don't take you seriously, you're done for. It's important to scold people loudly for some small mistake every once in a while, in front of everyone else. You can't do that. It will just make everyone scared. A leader has to be an example for everyone to follow. I'll tell you what makes a leader. Sì. The Vegeta Lion expounded his views on leadership to the attentive ears of those around him. Everyone was now pleasantly drunk and unusually animated in conversation. Kirie, why do you get stronger the more jealous you are? Don't make it sound so bad. If I want something, I won't let it slip away. I always put that theory into practice, nothing more to it. Thanks for waiting, everyone. Even more food's on the way. Butting in on the running of the family party like this. And yet, while I hate to admit it, every movement of his is flawless. Just what sort of hotel did he train at? It's no use trying to compete with Ronobe-sama. He's totally perfect. But I still love you more, Goda. This one is being cooked just right. Cuoricino tra loro due. The Seven Sisters had blended into the party perfectly and were making things interesting. And yet, there are a great many mysteries that are called masterpieces, and which are also discredited by Van Dyne's 20 rules. It's not like I'm discrediting anything. The purpose of a mystery novel is your own amusement. If you have fun, that's all that matters. Know that even the great wizard hunting rite has gone quite soft. Both literatures and form of amusement change their guidelines with the times. Surely mystery novels are no different. After Will explained his stance on mystery novels, everyone had a comment to make. The conversation showed no sign of running dry. Ma perché Kraus è senza voce in episodio 8? Cos'è successo? Yes, this is a fitting attitude for a beginner. However, at your range, you'll never become a key player in your organization. But know that rules exist to be followed. Just let the new beginners do that. Don't forget that rules are more like instructional guidelines for the new guys to learn from. You said it. You can't really call yourself qualified until you learn how to move outside the rules. You've still got a long way to go if you're letting the rules hold you back. Ma il fatto è che ce le ha le voci. Se io vado in logs, c'è la voce di Kraus. Non la fa partire per qualche motivo. I can't stand letting other people do the work. I'm Mammon, the covetous. I'll do all the jobs myself. That's some spirit you've got there. How much are they paying you for being a sister of... Mamma mia, la mia lingua. That's some spirit you've got there. How much are they paying you for being a sister of purgatory? Come and get a job at my husband's business. I recommend you personally. The humans and the residents of fantasy were now completely on casual terms. I see. So this is how it's done in the world of witches. You've got it. Where we come from, you pour the tea onto the saucer, press your palms on the table, and slurp it like a dog. No, 410, ti prego, poverina, guarda che lo fa Natsui se dici che questo è il Galateo del mondo dei demoni e delle streghe. What the hell are you teaching her? Who does things like that? And Natsui, what do you think you're doing? Getting tricked like that at your age? Satan? How can you be so rude to Natsui-san? Why are you crying, Satan? They scold you too hard. Siester 410, son. Make sure you never give my pure and trusting mother such a crazy idea again. Don't worry, I made sure it wouldn't leave a mark. 410 started yelling about animal abuse, jumping around in circles and holding her butt. I wonder if there's a prince out there for me. I wanna have some hot, passionate love. Ma perché con Maria? If I fell in love, could I be a beautiful princess too? No, of course. Love is a miracle, power, a mineral. It grants you invincible strength. The person who once claimed love equals lust seemed to be saying something. Indeed. It would seem she's getting her fill every night. Hinzo. Calm down. Oh. Cioè. No, va bene che fossi Butler, minchia. Lasciamo perdere, però. Calm down, Butler. Kinzo. Ecco, appunto. Shut up, you perverts! The circle surrounding Beata was always a lively one. I know how you feel. It's only when we're given orders that we find meaning in our lives. I get nervous, but I don't have any orders. Someone order me to do something or I'll die. You can't have that attitude. You got to find your own meaning for your life. Cut your own path. That's right. Your resolve has to be certain and absolute, you know? Back when I was a human, I lived like a daredevil all the time. A bit shakily, Lambda Delta started talking about her theory of life. Apparently, she'd also had her fair share of champagne. What a bizarre scene. It is, isn't it? Lano-sama, would you like some more to drink? Something non-alcoholic? I am a kid after all. Ah, Shannon-chan, you'll do. Do you have a second? Butler came back into the hall. He was searching for a servant, and the first one his eyes met was Shannon. Of course, Butler-sama. Do you need something? Sorry, but would you mind lending me the key to the parlor? The parlor? The master key can open that, but why? Well, I was wondering if Angel was asleep, so I went over there. The door was locked. Locked? After we carried Angel-sama to the sofa, we shut the door, but we didn't lock it. Don't tell me, Angel. She must have felt like she was being left out of the fun and locked the door from the inside in a huff. Silly kid. Shall we unlock it then? Yeah, sorry about the trouble, but that would be good. Butler and Shannon left the hall together. In the hall, Lambda Delta started suggesting that they all have another quiz tournament together. Apparently, the Witch of Certainty would be handing out prizes. Scusate. Everyone seemed enthusiastic about the idea. Smiling contently at the ensuing uproar, Butler headed towards the parlor. It really is locked. Shall I open it? I didn't knock on the door in case she was asleep, but if she locked it, that proved she was awake. Let's try knocking once. Butler knocked on the door and called Angel's name. However, there was no response from the other side. He pressed his ear against the door, listened carefully, but there was no hint of Angel unhappily throwing a cushion at it. She might have fallen asleep after having a little tantrum. Could you open it for me? As you wish. Shannon took out her master key and unlocked the door. Then she stepped back and let Butler go through. Angel, coming in. Speaking a quiet voice to avoid waking Angel if she was asleep, Butler opened the door. Then, just as the door was open, a chilly breeze drifted by. The breeze, which felt like outside air, immediately caught the attention of the pair, and they looked at each other. It could be seen at a glance that Angel wasn't in the parlor. The curtains to the wide-open window fluttered about. A blanket lay crumpled up on the sofa. It sat there just as Angel left it after waking up. The blanket was slightly warm. Clearly, she had been here until a short while ago.
Angel-sama, irasshaimasen?
Angel-sama, are you there? She obviously wasn't playing hide-and-seek. Angel was nowhere to be seen in the parlor. Butler peered out of the open window into the rainy blackness, so she slipped out of the window in this rain and went where? Do you think Angel-sama might have gone out of the window? That make her one hell of a sleepwalker. Since she didn't leave via the main entrance, she probably doesn't even have an umbrella. It was very hard to imagine any reason Angel could have for going outside in this weather. I have a bad feeling about this. This shouldn't be happening. I'm the game master of this game board. So why are we in a situation that the game master can't understand? A large bolt of lightning lit up my surroundings for an instant, but I was unable to see any trace of Angel. Okay, now it's my turn to think of a question. Okay, so you have a third of a whole cake, a quarter of a cake, and a fifth of a cake all on a plate. It takes 30 minutes to eat one whole cake. So how much is left on the plate when you're finished eating? At that moment there was a roar of thunder and the light flickered. The cheery voices vanished in an instant like candles being blown out. None.
あんたが引っ掛けられたもん
That's a riddle you were tricked with once, isn't it? Amidst the silence, one voice rang out and answered Lambda's riddle. The crowd parted and the form of a girl, a 1,000-year-old witch, came into view. She had been invited. She was an official guest holding an invitation to this party.
遅刻してごめんなさい
Sorry I'm
パー
late.
ティーを盛り
I
上げる
was just
催
so
しの準
caught
備を
up
して
working out some festivities to liven up the
すっかり遅くなって
party. As Bernkastel spoke, she looked around at everyone. Penso di sì, Gio. È un modo di dire alla fine. I 1000 anni di Beato sono 4. No. No, 6. 6, scemo. Non so perché stavo pensando all'82. Oh, è perché quando c'è Beatrice arriva nell'82, ma non c'entra. Sono 6.
あらかけらの海
Oh,
で朽ち
I
果てた
thought
と
you'd
思う
wasted away in the sea of fragments.
今は私の駒よ
They're my pieces now.
素敵でしょ
Pretty cool, right? She stared at Leon and Will with an unnerving smile on her face, but she apparently lost interest quickly.
バトラーはどこ
Where's Butler and
招
Beato?
待客
I'm a guest, aren't I?
出迎えて
Isn't
ほし
there
いもの
anyone to welcome me?
俺はここだ
No, I'm here.
そなたを招き
We
は
did invite you, but I didn't expect you to actually come.
なるほど
I see. So this must be a miracle.
うまいこと言う
Now there's an interesting thing to say.
何をみんな
Why has
静まり
everyone
返ってい
gotten
る
so quiet?
パーティーです
This is a party, right?
わざとらしい
Go ahead and
くら
be
い
noisy
賑
just
や
for
か
the
にしてちょ
hell
う
of
だい
it.
それとも
Or is welcoming me with silence supposed to be some kind of joke?
今度はお前の番だ
Now it's your turn.
何が
My turn for what?
バトラーはどこだ
You
とお
asked
前は
where
尋ね
I
た
was.
だから俺は
So I
ここだ
told
と
you.
次はお前
Now
の
it's
番
your
だ
turn.
何の話だ
What are you talking about? Did something happen?
エンジが消え
And
た
just gone.
ゲームマスターの俺
Even
にさ
I, the game master, don't know where she went.
そんなバカな
That's insane.
これはそなたの
Isn't this
ゲーム
your
であろう
game?
そんなことが
That
あるわ
doesn't
け
make
がない
sense.
エンジが消えたのが
If Angie
ゲームマスター
disappearing
バ
is
ト
in
ラ
a
ー知らない
scenario created by
ゲ
Butler,
ームマスター
that
が他に
means
い
that
る
there
ことにな
must
る
be another game master.
そのようなことが
Is
あると
that
いう
even
のか
possible?
ええ
Oh, yes.
私も
I
驚い
was
てる
surprised myself. Just when I opened the game board to start a delightful game of my own, I found that Butler is starting up this bizarre game at the same time.
ゲームマスター
Two game masters at once.
おかしな
It's a
ことが
crazy world we live in, don't you think?
それはつまり
In other words, you are admitting that you hid
お前
Angie
が
away
エンジをどこか
somewhere.
に隠したと認めたということだな
そうな
It
る
would seem so.
ゲームマスターの
After
バト
all,
ル
no
を
one
描い
could
ていない
create a
シナリオを
scenario
生み
not
出せない
invented by the game
もう
master,
一人のゲームマスタ
except
ー殿のし
for
かい
another
ないとい
game
うこと
master.
に
Would this be those festivities to liven up the party that you mentioned?
ラ
Liven
ムダ
up
た
the
ちは
party.
クイズ大会で楽しく盛り
All
上
of you
が
look
ってた
like you were having such a blast with that quiz tournament, so I decided I wanted to join in.
エンジェは
And you decided to hold Angie hostage to do that.
そういうこと
You've got it.
バトル
Butler,
あな
Beato,
たたちに
I want to
ゲームを
challenge you to a game.
拒否権はない
You cannot refuse. If you treasure Angie as a little sister, that is.
何が望む
What do you want?
あんたとベアトを
Lambda and I made a bet about the game between you and Beato. I must acknowledge that I've lost. At least that I've lost to Lambda. You try to act all dry, but you really can hold a grudge. It's like this, right? You're saying you lost to me, but not to Butler or Beato. And Beato. It seemed as though Bernkastel's might. It seemed as though Bernkastel might smile. However, she didn't. Those cold eyes spoke without words. Butler understood. She had played so many games against Beato. Those games had been a wordless message from Beato, so he knew, he understood.
俺たちと勝負したい。
She wants to fight us.
そういうことか。
Is that it?
恐ろしい敵である
She
ぞ
will be a fearsome opponent.
だが引けない。
But we can't back out.
分かっておる
I know
エン
that.
ジェ
We mustn't let
Bernkastel
ENG become
became
Lady
おもちゃにさせるわけにはいかない。
Bernkastel's plaything. Beata understood as well. She understood Bernkastel's desire for one final battle.
ベルンが先
I
生
never thought I'd see you up front asking for a fair fight.
笑え
Go on, laugh.
ばどうしてあ
Why?
りがと
Thanks. Lambda Delta understood as well. In these final moments before the end of Butler and Beato's tale, before everything was locked away in the cat box, Bernkastel had finally moved from the audience to the stage. That witch who had hidden in the wings, unwilling to come out into the light, had shown the courage to step out onto the stage. As a friend, Lambda Delta showed that she understood Bernkastel's human emotions, which had given her this courage.
私にできることは
Is there anything I can do?
私のゲームの
Please
立ち会い
act as an
人を
observer for my game.
いいわよ
Sure.
そのゲームに参加
If
した
you
ら
can promise you'll
エンジを
release
解放する
ENG
こと
if
を
we
約
take
束
part
で
in
き
your
るわね
game.
当然である
Of course.
その約束が
Without such
な
a
いなら
promise, we are not
そなたの
obligated to
茶
go
番に
along with
付き
your
合う義理な
farce.
どない
義理はないけど
You might not be
ENG は
obligated,
戻ら
but
ない
that
わ
won't change the fact that ENG is not coming back.
ならばそなたは
In that case, you can
負け犬の楽
enjoy
園を
being branded as a
数百
loser
年
for the
間
next
のん
few
びり楽しむ
centuries.
こととなろうぞ
ベアト、挑発はよ
Beato,
せ。
don't provoke her.
引けない勝負。
This isn't a fight we can back down from.
No.
Yes. From the moment a hostage was taken, their ability to negotiate had disappeared. However, Lambda Delta was making Bernkastel promise to release ENG in exchange for her agreeing to become an observer. Without that promise, Bernkastel would have nothing to lose. To make this final fight Bern wanted a proper one, Lambda Delta made her agree to that promise.
無論よ
Of course, Lambda.
約束する
I promise.
ゲームが
When
終
the
わ
game ends, I'll release ENG.
私の顔に泥を
Don't
塗
make
ら
a
ない
fool of me, okay?
私
When I get shamed, I never let go of the one who did it until they regret it. Lambda Delta spoke in a soft, threatening tone. However, Bernkastel laughed lightly as though she found the look on Lambda Delta's face adorable. Ugh. I swear it. I swear it on our friendship. Lambda Delta whistled and grinned. Apparently it was the most reliable oath Bernkastel could utter.
分かった
Okay. Lambda Delta nodded, looked between Butler and Bernkastel and spoke.
絶対の魔女ラムダデルタの名において
By the name of Lambda Delta, Witch of Certainty, I accept the role of observer for your fight.
バトラ
Butler, Beato, you have no objections, right? After Butler and Beato nodded at each other, they nodded at Lambda Delta to show their determination.
嬉しいわ
I'm so glad we finally get to fight each other.
いずれ
I had a feeling I end up fighting you sooner or later.
いつから
Since when?
わからない。
I'm not
ひょ
sure.
っとしたら
It might have been before I even learned your name. Butler vaguely remembered her speaking to him somewhere in the unconscious world he couldn't remember. At the time, it sounded like she was giving him advice to fight with Beato. But thinking back on it, it was a little different. She might have been a cat fighting from the sidelines, too scared to go out into the bright sunlight. So I had a vague premonition that eventually we would stand opposed to each other on the game board in some way.
こいつも
She was always one of us
ゲ
players.
ーム版を片
Now,
付
at
け
the
る最後
very
の
end,
最後
as the game board is being put away, she finally found the courage to step onto the stage.
俺は
I want to accept that brave challenge of yours.
お前の駒だった
By the name of that courageous girl who was once your piece.
私はエリカに決闘を
I
押し付け
forced
た
Erika to fight a
勝ち
duel.
たかっ
I wanted to
それ
win.
以上に負け
And
たく
even
な
more
かった
strongly, I didn't want to lose.
敗北の味
The
を知
fear
る
of
かもしれない
possibly tasting defeat tormented
私
me.
は才能そして
And thinking back on it, I envied you
あの
too
時
back
のあん
then.
たたちに私は嫉妬していたんだわ
エリカはお前の優秀な
Erika was a great piece of yours and my
そ
rival.
の最後を
I won't
取らず
forgive you for refusing to witness her last stand and laying her to rest into the depths of
俺は許
oblivion.
さない。
どうしろというの
Just what do you want me to
エ
do?
リカに謝る
Apologize to her?
エリカを忘却の深淵
Rescue
から
her
救
from
え
the depths of oblivion
そしてこのパー
and
ティーに
invite
招
her
け
to this party.
エリカ
Erika?
を救え
Rescue Erika?
わらわもバトラに同じだ。あやつは敵方の駒なれど、その役割に忠実であったに過ぎぬ。好敵手なくしてゲームは成立
I
する
feel the same as Butler. She may have been a piece who stood in opposition towards us, but she was only faithfully fulfilling her role. There can be no game without an adversary.
敵であることは
She
変わらぬ
remains our enemy, but she's also an important friend to us.
あれだけ
Even though she made you suffer so much,
俺たちはフェア
we
に
fought a fair fight.
勝敗が互
The
いの運命を
outcome
分
may
け
have changed our fates, but now that we've dueled each other, we'll always be friends.
ベルンも友人になりたいのよねだからベルンもフェアに戦いたくなったんでし
You
ょ
want to be their friend too, don't you, Bern? That's why you want a fair fight with them now, isn't it?
笑え
Are you laughing at me?
笑わぬ
No, we aren't.
むしろ歓
On
迎
the
だ
contrary, we welcome it.
ば人質を取ってるのに
Even though I've taken an hostage,
取らなきゃお前は
you
舞台に出られ
probably
なかったん
wouldn't
だ
have
ろ
come up onto the stage otherwise. There had been no need to take a hostage. Butler and Beato would have gladly accepted a final duel if Bernkastel had expressed a desire for one. It was hard to make out anything from Bernkastel's still expression.
いいわ
Okay.
何が
What's
エ
okay?
リカを深淵
I'll release Erika from the depths. That must have taken a lot of resolve. For someone as proud as Bernkastel, forgiving the piece who had caused the defeat should have been nearly unbearable. Butler knew this, so he realized how much this bit of compassion had cost Bernkastel. Bernkastel snapped her fingers and a black cat slipped out of her shadow.
深淵の奥底に
I
存
tossed
在
her
に
all
放り
the way into the deepest parts of
到
oblivion.
着は遅れ
She
るかも
might
し
be
れない
late in arriving.
構わぬ
Matters
料
not.
理も酒も
There's no danger of the
決して
food and
尽きることは
drink
ない
running out.
お行き
Go,
これ
kitty.
あの子をここに案内
Guide
しな
that
さい
guide that kid here. When she gave this order, a cat melted into the darkness, its bell jingling.
まさかあんた
I
が
can
エリカを
hardly
許すなん
believe
て
that you
ね
forgive Erika.
許す気はない
I don't plan on forgiving her, so she's not my piece anymore.
誰かが拾い
Anyone feel like picking her up?
あんただって
After all, you've already picked up Leon and Will.
ベルンカステル
And Castle,
感謝する
you have my thanks.
じゃあ
Then, can we stop this sentimentality?
すでに私
I've already had as much as I can bear.
いいぜ
Sure.
ゲームはどこでする
Where will we have the
こ
game?
こで賑やかに
I'm happy to have it here with all the noise and the usual quiet spot, or in the usual quiet spot, or wherever you like.
ベルンカステル教が
Lady Bernkastel has shown the courage to stand before a great many people already.
これ以上
I see no point in making her suffer further.
そうだな
Good point. Then let's make it the usual place.
ベル問題
Any
ない
objections, Ben?
ないわ
None.
ごめんねパーティーのみんな
Sorry, partygoers. We'll be heading out for a bit, but please continue to enjoy yourselves.
ゼパルフルフル
Zepar,
あんた
Furfur,
たちが盛り上げて
liven this place up.
エリカが来たら
When
みんなで
Erika
歓迎
gets
してあげ
here,
て
When Erika gets here, let's have everyone give her a warm welcome. Yes, Lady Damda Delta. Your wish is our command. Now then, let us take her to the usual room, a fitting place for our battle of wits. When Butler snapped his fingers, the space shattered. The witch smoking room. They were now in the place where witches had once exhaustively debated, schemed and risen, the witches' smoking room. Bernkastel had been invited there once again, and a final game would now begin. Do you have a game prepared? Of course. I worked hard on this game, and I'm pretty proud of it. So Ben will be the game master and Butler and Beato will be the players? The usual game where Ben creates a murder tale and two players have to reconstruct it with human tricks? I'm interested to see what sort of scenario Lady Bernkastel develops. We'll explain things with the blue truth, and you knock those down with the red truth. Are we alright with those rules? My game will be a simpler one. It's just a quiz of guessing the culprit. I don't feel like trading red and blue with you. Oh? What kind of game will that be? Would you mind letting me have a look at it first? Bernkastel held their palm upwards and a fragment glowing pale blue appeared there. Lambda Delta held a hand over it and shut her eyes. See? It's a simple game, isn't it? You're right. It's much more straightforward than the mind games these two played in the past. This isn't even a game about witches and humans anymore. That's right. This is a human game. This is surprising. To take out the fantasy that is Beato, you've created a genuine mystery. Please explain. It's extremely simple. You'll watch the tale Bernard prepared for you. There are several rules to it, but if you follow them as you read through it, it will lead you to a single truth. In other words, an answer. So it's an ordinary mystery novel? I see. In that case, there's no need for combat between red and blue truth. Chi vuole essere la strega dorata? In Beato's game, the argument was about whether it's a mystery or not. However, Bernkastel's game was a mystery. There was no need to argue from the start. I'll even cut out the motive and the tricks. There's only one question I'm asking you. Who done it? What a simple yet fitting game to conclude our fight. Yeah. No cheap tricks. Mi fiderei tanto, eh. Just a stoically simple game. This is a genuine duel. As the observer, I'll say this. This game is made to be solvable. In other words, I guarantee that it is a suitable setting for a duel. For your duel. Bern, I know I kept on saying this, but are you really sure? Butler and Beato's relationship started because they both loved mystery. I agree it is a simple, tricky scenario, but... I agree it's a pretty tricky scenario, but I'm not sure it'll be enough to stop these two. If my best tale can't stop them, then what comes will come. The important thing is that Lady Bernkastel put everything she had into this game. You're right. Will that be enough to stump us? That's all the simple game is about. Thanks, Lambda. Thanks to you, we know that this duel will be a fair fight. You're welcome. I'm happy too. It's very rare for Ben to bring a fight herself, and I'm honored to be here to see it. I'm also honored to have you as an opponent. Same here. I underestimated you, and did it without even stepping into the battlefield. Just thinking about it makes me want to vomit. So let me fight. Show us what you've got. If I win, I'll be able to look down on you for real this time. And if I lose, I'll surely be reminded of that emotion that I know I've forgotten. Indeed. Bernkastel, whether we win or lose, I'll promise you one thing. What's that? When this duel is over, we'll be friends. Enough of that, please. The sentimentality is killing me. Lambda clapped her hands. A pleasant sound rang out. Will you be the reader, Ben? Or shall I take on the role? I don't need a reader. Huh? A reader Miko can use her own voice to embellish or distort the tale. Even if there was no cheap trickery in my game, by having a reader, any amount of trickery could be added. Yes, that is true. That is another of the Game Master privileges. I want to have a straightforward duel with you. So, I don't need a reader. You can read this tale with your own eyes and ears. Are you sure? That means you've lost almost all of your advantages. Got it. You don't need a reader. We'll read the tale ourselves. If there's no reader, doesn't that mean that there will be absolutely no falsehoods in their narrated text? We are ready, Bernkastel. A showdown over a genuine mystery, without any cheap tricks. If you're going to play fair and square, we'll challenge you head-on too. Thank you. And I don't plan on losing either. Yes, I am! Okay, scusa. That's no good, Lady Bern. Oh, she's right. If you're a witch challenging us to a mystery, it's no good having an attitude like that. Like, it's no goddamn good at all. Bernkastel, realizing what Butler and Beato were asking for, snorted. Lambda Delta nodded at her, telling her to enjoy this final duel to the fullest. Ci vuole.
仲良く肩を並べてミステリー談義なんてバカバカしいわ。笑えるわ。あんたたちの仲良しミステリーが私の用意したミステリーに通用するかどうか受けてみなさい。私のミステリー。
A human and a witch discussing a mystery side by side? It's ridiculous, ludicrous. Let's see if your cheeky take on mysteries can handle mine. I challenge you to solve my mystery. That is more like it. Ah, Ciri. Vabbè, comunque Chiki pensavo un pochino. Vabbè, Ciri, c'ha ragione. Cioè dava comunque lo stesso significato, però Ciri è ancora peggio. Nel senso, pensavo dicesse un po' il vostro gioco da strapazzo, invece il vostro gioco troppo felice. That's more like it. We'll take your challenge, Lady Bernkastel, Witch of Miracles. Alright, time to start. I, Game Master Ushiromiya Butler, and Beatrice the Endless Witch, will be your opponents. Don't start crying when we wipe the floor with you. Take this. Behold a mystery from Bernkastel. Bisogna fare convenevoli. Bernkastel took the fragment holding the game and smashed it against the table, shattering it into a brilliant light as the game scenario laid itself out. The curtain rose on the mystery Bernkastel had created. Eccoci qua. Bevo anche un attimino. Non fare rumore, non fare rumore. Un attimo, scusate, volevo solo. Ok, very good. Pam. Bene. Pronti? Siete pronti ad affrontare il gioco di Bern, il mistero di Bern? No sound but that of the falling rain filled the room. It covered the tragic scene in the bloody dining hall. Oh, ENG! At some point, ENG had fainted and fallen to the floor. Now her consciousness was slowly returning, forcing her to remember what had happened in this room. So she reflexively averted her gaze even before the memory overtook her. 6 bodies laid in the blood-stained dining hall. Strangely enough, as her consciousness returned bit by bit, the terrifying scene before her seemed somehow less intense. So this time ENG was able to look at the 6 corpses well enough to make out who they were. First, there were her own parents. They were a pitiful sight, colored bright red by a bloody makeup. Next to them, that's Uncle Hideyoshi and Auntie Eva. Both Uncle Hideyoshi, the uncle who always said something funny and made me laugh, and Auntie Eva, the aunt who seemed to be so fond of me, are lying there dead. Kenji-san, the servant, is laying over there, and the one lying right there is Auntie Rosa. 6 people. A full 6 people who had their lives taken from them and are lying in this room. Maybe I'd cried myself out before I fell unconscious. The scene before me was still terribly painful, but I was somehow able to look at it without losing my head. So I'd already felt all the sadness I could at my parents' death. The next emotion that rose up in me was a desire to check and see that everyone else was okay. In that instant, ENG heard a scraping sound. Thinking she must have imagined it, she was about to relax when she heard the sound once more. It was probably coming from the door. Someone was clawing at the door from the outside. Of course. Oh, riusciamo a dire questa parola? Of course, she had no way of knowing who it was. However, for some reason, she was sure that it was the black cat scratching at the door. The black cat was telling her to leave this room. Angie understood and put her hand on the doorknob. I immediately noticed something odd. The door was locked. The same bad feeling I'd felt after being locked in the parlor crawled up my spine. However, unlike the time in the parlor, this door unlocked itself when I turned the knob. I unlocked it and slowly opened the door. Beyond the door, I could see the dimly lit hallway and a cat dashing down it away from me. Then it stopped, and its emerald eyes glittering in the darkness, as though it was waiting for me to follow. The hallway was dark and dominated by an eerie silence. When the black cat saw that I was coming, it walked forward as if guiding me. I could hear nothing except the creaking of the floor and the jingling of the cat's bell, and the howling of the storm outside. The party is being held in the hall. Should I be able to hear at least a little of the noise? I should be able to hear at least a little of the noise coming from this hallway. Maybe it got really late and while I was passed out in the dining hall. It was a reasonable conclusion. Then we finally reached the main hall. The hall was frigid. No trace of that party atmosphere remained. Could all of that fun have been just an illusion? The black cat bell rang out. When I looked up, I saw it had its feet on the stairway to the second floor, urging me to follow it.
迎えに行くの？
Are you going up to the second floor? Black cat seemed to nod, then silently ascended the stairs. Guests were allowed to go wherever they wanted on the first floor, but the second floor was Uncle Krause's family's house. I remember getting in trouble for trying to go up there. However, at that moment I couldn't think of any options other than following that cat. I walked along the dark hallway with the black cat. Eventually we reached one of the doors. Black cat scratched at the door, then turned to look at me. He must have been telling me to open it. Okay,
開けるね。
I'll open it for you. I put my hand on the doorknob and felt the resistance of a lock again. This door is locked. I turned around to tell the cat this, but inexplicably a single key lay in front of the cat. Angie picked it up and stuck it in the keyhole. It was then that she finally noticed a strange sensation on her fingertips. Blood. Somehow, Angie's fingertips were stained red with blood. She let out a short cry and dropped the key that she had just removed from the keyhole. She finally realized that in the darkness she hadn't noticed before. The black cat key was covered with blood. The emotions that had gone numb in Angie sprang back. A terrified scream rang out through the dark hallway. Even so, Angie would eventually open that door. That door led to Natsui's room. Natsui's room was a terrible mess. Blankets and sheets were torn, cosmetics and books laid all over the place as though a typhoon had just ripped through it. And there were the corpses. Kraus and Natsui's corpses laid sprawled on the floor. Very shortly, Angie will step into this room. She will then scream in terror once more. And it isn't just the dining hall and Natsui's room. In the stormy rose garden, Shannon's corpse lies exposed to the rain. Partway down the path to the rose garden is Jessica's corpse. When Angie finds that, she'll probably dash crying and screaming into the guest house. And death awaits her inside the guest house as well. Just inside the front door is Nanjo's corpse. In the servant room nearby, even Goda and Kumasawa lie dead. Quindi aspetta, abbiamo avuto i 6 della prima, i 2 vicini della seconda, terzo non c'è nessuno, poi abbiamo, quanti sono? 4 delle successive. In totale devono morire 13, quindi 6, 8. No, sono molti di più di altri 4. 6 più 2, 8. E devono essere 5 allora, sì. Molti di più. Insomma, uno in più me ne mancava. Quindi ne manca uno, no? Abbiamo Shannon, Jessica, Goda, Kumasawa, ne manca uno. No. Ho fatto male il conto. 6 2 Shannon, Jessica, Nanjo, Kumasawa. Ok, va bene. Sì, mi ero dimenticato di Nanjo, scusate. Povero Nanjo. The total number of corpses is 13. A full 13 corpses are waiting for Angie. They wait in the mansion and the guest house on this desolate Rokkenjima. Angie, exposed to the wind and rain and tormented by thunder to find them. For Angel, no, visto la for all'inizio. E quindi Bern ha preso ENG dal gioco di Butler e l'ha messa dentro il suo gioco? Bern's Puzzle, First Twilight. The tragedy of the first twilight was discovered at 6 a.m. on the following day. God, who had woken up to get breakfast ready, went to check on the adult siblings who had remained in the dining hall since the previous night because of the family conference.
死体発見時のこと
Talk about when you discovered the crime.
食堂は施錠されていました。
The dining hall was locked up.
確かに
Of course, there is a lock on the doors to the dining hall, but they usually remained unlocked.
ノックしたのですが、返事
I knocked, but there was no answer.
そこに私が来た。
That's when I arrived.
万一のこと
I recommended that he try unlocking the door just in case.
進めたのです。
マスターキーで扉を
When
開
I
けると
unlocked the door with a master key, a terrifying sight awaited me inside.
エヴァ様、
Eva-sama, Hideyoshi-sama, Rudolph-sama, Kirie-sama, Rosa-sama, Genji-san and Genji-san.
計6人
6 people in all were lying there, covered in blood.
でございます。
A great turmoil followed. Everyone gathered in the dining hall.
思い出したくもあります。
I don't want to remember it. The sight of all of the sobbing children crouched over the corpses of their own parents.
ひょっとしたら生きているかもと。
There was a chance they might have been alive still.
みんな懸命に揺さぶって
Everyone
た
was shaking them desperately.
しかし
There was no use.
お子様方はそ
The
れぞれ
death of each parent was confirmed by their own
間
child.
違いなく死んでいることを確認なさいました。
僕と南條先生
Dr. Nanjo and I confirmed that Genji-sama was dead.
むごたらしい
It
殺
was
され
such
方
a
でした
terrible way to be killed.
私でなくとも
Doctor or not, no one examining a body will reach the wrong conclusion.
犠牲者はみんな
Looks like all of the victims died instantly. After inspecting the interior of the dining hall, we determined that all of the doors and windows had been locked, making it a locked room.
そして
And nothing suspicious was found inside the dining
見
hall.
つからなかったもちろん
Of course, there was no one hiding in the dining hall either. Naturally, all of us are here right now. It's clear that no one is hiding.
でも父さん
But Dad, if that's true, it doesn't make sense.
殺された6人
6 people were killed, and the dining hall's a locked room.
どうやって殺して逃げたんだ
How could someone have killed them and escaped?
考えたくはありませんが、
I'd rather not think of it.
マスターキーを
But
持
perhaps
つ
the servant with the
重要な
master
愛
keys
情
are the most suspicious. They killed the 6, then left and locked the room with their master keys. It's a logical theory.
ひひ
That's absurd! Since there was no chance of the culprit hiding inside the dining hall, it made sense to assume that the culprit had locked the door after committing the murder and exiting the room. It's only natural that the servants, with their master keys, would fall under suspicion. And, sadly enough, none of the servants had an alibi. Then again, it wasn't only the servants, everyone else lacked an alibi as well.
マスターキー以外の方法で
Is there any way to lock up the outside without a master key?
存在しない。
No, there isn't. That's not enough.
赤き真
I'll
実
say
で
it with the
語る
red truth.
すべての扉に
All of the doors can be locked or unlocked with a master key.
もちろん
Of course, it is possible to lock or unlock the doors from the inside to the room even without a master key.
だそうよ。
There you have it. Any other questions?
マスターキーの他にも
Shouldn't there be keys to each individual room in addition to the master keys?
本来なら
Normally,
存在する
those would exist. However, they make the game more complicated, so I have eliminated them.
赤き真実
Red truth.
マスターキー
In
以外
this
の
game, we'll consider master keys to be the only keys that exist.
つまり
In other words, all of the locks that appear in this game can only be locked or unlocked by master keys.
そうなるわね
That's how it is.
実にシンプルな
It
ゲー
really
ムだわ
is a simple game.
となれば
In that case, we should now check the number of master keys and who holds them. There are 5 master keys in total. 1 is held by each of the 5 servants. The keys will be managed by a particular method. The servants keep the master keys on their person at all times, so it is impossible for them to be stolen, handed over, or used by any human other than themselves. Oh, era da un bel po' che ne aveva un bel po' di rosso. What the heck? Now they're sounding less like keys and more like fingerprinting system. That's an interesting metaphor. In other words, in the world of this game, it isn't the master keys, but the 5 servants themselves that can lock or unlock doors. We tried to retrieve Genji-san's master key but had no luck. To prevent trouble later on, we destroyed Genji-san's master key. That was the crime of the first Twilight. The scene was the fully locked room of the dining hall. None of the servants holding master keys have alibis. Then again, no one else has an alibi either. Second Twilight. Una cosa solo. Nessuno qui ha fatto un commento su una cosa particolare? Intanto bevo. E vibo. Le scritte in viola. Sembrava strano, io pensavo che appena arrivava il momento di Butler e Beato dicessero qualcosa sul viola, ma nessuno ha detto niente. Cioè, mi stavo riferendo sia a voi sia a loro, che nessuno ha fatto un commento sulle scritte in viola. Sono una cosa molto figa le scritte in viola, vedrete quando lo spiegano. Madonna, quanto è bella sta canzone. Everyone returned to the parlor to discuss what should be done next. The phones were out, so they couldn't contact the police. Was the mysterious culprit hiding away somewhere, planning to attack their victim at this very moment? Their next victim at this... Or was the culprit in here with them, mentally sticking out their tongue and tasting their next prey? None of them had alibis, and it was possible for any of them to be the culprit. A culprit. However, that tense feeling didn't last long. By midday, everyone got tired of arguing, and they decided to take a break. No. Kraus and Natsui announced that they wanted to talk with each other alone and went up to the second floor. They paved the way for everyone else to start going their separate ways, some breaking away to head to the bathroom, others to gaze at the endless rain. Che stupidi cretini. However, no matter how much time passed, Kraus and Natsui were the only ones who didn't return. Calls were sent to both Kraus and Natsui's room using the extension phone line, but there was no answer. Something might have happened. Everyone headed to Kraus and Natsui's room together, and in Natsui's room they found Kraus and Natsui lying sprawled on the floor. Madame's room was locked. It's just like the dining hall. After getting everyone's permission, I unlocked the door. Kraus-sama and Natsui-sama lay sprawled on the floor inside the room. Dr. Nanjo checked their pulse. Then he announced that the two of them had died instantly. Correct. I confirmed both of their deaths. There can be no doubt that they died instantly. Sì, qui sì. I searched all over the room looking for a clue. In the end, I found that the windows and doors were all locked, making it a locked room. Another locked room? And yet again we servants have master keys. And yet again we servants who have master keys will be suspected. But have no fear. After Madame began to suspect us, we started keeping an eye on each other. All of us servants were together the whole time. All of us servants can prove an alibi for all of the other servants. Now that's interesting. So you're saying that this locked room is even more perfect. In the case of the first locked room, no one had an alibi. So for this locked room, all of them have alibis. In this world, the servants themselves are living master keys. As long as those servants have perfect alibis, locking Natsui's room is impossible. We decided to preserve the crime scene as it was. We put duct tape all over the outside of the doors and windows, sealing them. I'm sure the culprit left some sort of clue in this room. We made sure that no one would be able to enter or leave until the police arrived. Then, we did the same to the dining hall. We also sealed the dining hall in the same way. We reached the conclusion that the entire mansion itself should be preserved. We also sealed the mansion itself, and all of us took refuge in the guest house. Immagino tutti quanti come Erika, con la swimming suit, a scalare tipo fuori, a mettere duct tape. Però tutti quanti con la swimming suit, anche Nanjo. They sealed the whole mansion? Duct tape on all the windows? They even used a ladder for the windows on the third floor? The game would get complicated otherwise, so I've simplified it. All of the windows have steel bars on them, so it's impossible to enter or leave by them. Therefore, we'll say that they sealed the whole mansion by sealing the two doors, the front one and the back one. Molto più brutta la mansion con le barre su tutte le pareti, tutte le finestre, ma vabbè. Got it? That makes it easy. What do you think? Actually, killing the two people in Aunt Natsui's room would be easy. Someone just had to knock and get them to open the door. However, they couldn't lock it afterwards. Only the servants can lock doors, but all of the servants have alibis. Unless the servants are all in it together. More importantly, the first Twilight has me suspicious. You think that one of the 6 who died in the dining hall was actually alive and committed the crime? Di solito è una delle prime cose che si pensano. Effettivamente se era una perfect locked room da dentro e da fuori e fino a che non si apre la porta, abbiamo visto com'è facile pensare che una delle persone dentro sia in realtà l'assassino e che si stia confondendo tra i cadaveri. It's because of Erika. I can't help but be suspicious when people are examining corpses. So you think that one of the first 6 victims was alive? Yeah. And afterwards they killed Kraus and Natsui. Then they locked the door from the inside, hid inside the room, and found a good chance to escape. That theory does make logical sense. I'll see it in red. The culprit of the first Twilight has definitely killed 6 people. Then I'll take a shot with the blue truth. Here is the true nature of this locked room. The culprit locked their door from the inside, then hid in Natsui's room. Then, after everyone left, they found an opportunity to escape. Sure, I'll deny that in red. The group sealed the room at the same time they left. No culprit joined the group as they left. Also, all of the seals on Natsui's room, the dining hall, and the mansion itself will never be broken. Ok, ma i seals non erano lì dall'inizio. I seals sono stati messi lì dopo l'assassinio di Natsui e Kraus. Quindi, per la First e Second Twilight non hanno nessuna importanza praticamente i seals. Solo da adesso in poi. Faccio subito il contrasto, il controrosso. In other words, you can't use the trick where they hide under the bed and slip out later. Vero. Interesting. Nice going, Bernkastel. Oddio, in realtà è pertinente solo la fine della seconda Twilight. Tutta la prima Twilight e l'inizio della prima Twilight non hanno a che fare con i seals. Solo la fine della seconda, quando trovano i cadaveri. Allora, quando sono usciti e si hanno chiuso, è pertinente. Prima no. Thanks. This was the crime of the second Twilight. The scene was Natsui's fully locked room. This time, all of the servants with master keys have alibis. The whole group, realizing the dangers of being inside the mansion, took shelter in the guest house. Fourth Twilight. Those who took refuge in the guest house decided to hole up in there until the typhoon passed. There, if everyone watched everyone else, they should be able to prevent any further crimes both from the inside and outside. However, they couldn't do that without any breaks until the typhoon passed. Once again, their action left a weak point open and they were faced with yet another tragedy. Shannon-chan and Kanon-kun, who went outside on an errand, still haven't come back. George Neeson got upset, so we all went outside to look for them. When we found Shannon-san lying there in the rose garden, oh, poor Shannon-san. I prayed she was still alive. However, I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. Of course, I also examined her and confirmed her death. Then, the two of them left. When the two of them left, we were busy checking the locks around the guest house, so none of us has an alibi. Me killing her? How could I have killed her? Yeah, George Neeson couldn't kill her. Later on, we learned that George Neeson alone had an alibi. At least regarding Shannon's death, it was impossible for George Neeson to be the murderer. To turn it around, anyone could have killed her besides George Aniki. To prevent the culprit from using it from any mischief, we destroyed the master key Shannon-san had left on the spot. At the time Shannon is killed, Kanon goes missing forever. Ok, allora, quindi no, il discorso è sempre lo stesso, semplicemente viene acknowledged Kanon. Alla fine è quello, alla fine il discorso è quello. Se basta che la gente è d'accordo sul fatto che Kanon sia lì, puoi mostrare Kanon. Non serve che sia effettivamente separato, come è nella Golden Land. Nella Golden Land è separato perché nella Golden Land tutte le persone di Sayo sono umani a parte, completi. Nella game board no. Ok, va bene. From now on, Kanon is treated as having been killed. Also, Kanon's master key is treated as having been destroyed. Well, it'd be tasteless to go into it, so I won't, but given that Shannon is dead, I wouldn't really expect anything else. In other words, we can say that Shannon and Kanon were killed at the same time, even though we're missing a corpse. That's right. Looks like the crimes are moving along. That was the crime of the fourth Twilight. The scene was the Rose Garden. There are no locks or doors. it isn't a locked room, so the master key no longer have anything to do with this. Then the pace of the crimes began to accelerate. Fifth and sixth twilights. Mamma mia, ma che bangers uno dietro l'altro! The group took shelter in the guest house. They carefully sealed all doors and windows, sealing themselves in a locked room. However, several locked room murders had already occurred. Could locking themselves in a locked room do anything more than invite another tragedy? After arguing fiercely in the cousin's room about finding the culprit, they decided to go to the servant room to double-check on the testimonies of Nanjo, Kumasawa and Goda. There, they learned that a tragedy had occurred once more. Judging by these wounds, Goda-san and Kumasawa-san died instantly, I believe. Such a gruesome way to die. Like hell they could survive after this. Goda-san and Kumasawa-san are both dead. Well, we have been busy keeping a lookout and locking up on all of that. Once more, none of us has an alibi. That's not true. Look, considering the way they were killed, the culprit would definitely get blood splatters on themselves. But Dr. Nanjo and all of the cousins have no blood on them. All of us, in other words, the 4 cousins and Dr. Nanjo couldn't have killed Goda-san and Kumasawa-san. In that case, it's clear that the culprit is someone other than us. I guess that someone might have snuck in and checked around, but the guest house was still completely locked up. Perhaps the culprit has a master key after all. That's impossible. No master keys exist anymore except the 2 keys on the 2 people who lie dead here. Since the 2 master keys that exist are here inside the guest house, that makes this guest house a perfect locked room. Well, since everyone's dead, it obviously wasn't perfect. This was the crime of the 5th and 6th twilights. The scene was the locked room known as the guest house. Goda and Kumasawa's master keys were also destroyed, meaning that all master keys had now been lost. Now, no one could break into this locked room guest house. At least that should have been true. Mancano Jessica e Nanjo. 7th. This time Dr. Nanjo was the one who was killed. He was killed in the entrance hall of the guest house. It was far too foolish of him to come here alone to check that everything was locked. He's dead. He's been killed. Even I can say for sure that this was an instant death. Everything is locked up perfectly. How did it happen if this is a locked room? That means that the culprit is one of us. Impossible! Judging by the circumstances, Maria, Butler, George Nissan and I couldn't have killed Dr. Nanjo. In the first place, no one could kill Dr. Nanjo inside the guest house. Look at this. Simply put, this is proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. Then that means that no one could kill Dr. Nanjo, right? So, why was he killed? No one could answer that innocent question. This was the 7th twilight. Once again, the crime scene was the locked room known as the guest house. Various bits of evidence made the crime scene even more impossible. Then the tragedy reached the 8th twilight, the final one. I don't know. Simply proof. By now, it was clear that holding up wouldn't keep them safe. Jessica might have chosen anger as a way to numb her fear. She flew out of the guest house in a rage, searching for the murderer that she was sure hid somewhere outside. George, Butler, and Maria hurriedly chased after her. Then, outside the building, they found Jessica lying on the ground. It was, as anyone could tell by looking, a gruesome corpse. Poor Jessica-chan. She probably died instantly.
これで生きて
There's
いる
no
わけ
way
じゃ
she
ない
could
もん
live through this.
俺たちは3人で
The three of us were together the whole time. George, Aniki, Maria, and I couldn't have killed Jessica. Yeah, the three of us couldn't have killed Jessica.
マリアちゃんが人なん
As
て
if
殺せない
Maria-chan could kill
マ
someone.
リアちゃんには誰も殺せない
Maria-chan couldn't kill anyone.
ありがとう
Thanks.
ジョージお兄
George Nichan couldn't kill an adult.
子供は子供
He could kill a kid though.
あー何がなんだかさっぱりわからね
I don't understand it at all.
え一体
What the hell is going on
どうな
here?
ってやがるんだ
This was the 8th twilight. The crime scene was outside. However, the three who chased after Jessica have alibis. George, Butler, and Maria couldn't have killed Jessica. So is there really someone hiding on this island apart from the Ushiromiya family? Madonna. Oh, oh, oh. Madonna, ok. The curtain is lowered on this tale, for now. Quanto spinge Ruirar.
これで私の物語はおしまい
Not so for my tale.
なかなかよくで
It's
きてる
pretty
じゃ
well
ない
made.
ちゃんと朗読
If
した
you
ら
had a full-on reader, I'd stand up well against Beat. If you had a full-on reader, it'd stand up well against Beato's games.
それは認めるぜ
I agree there.
よくできてた
You did a good job. Well, the real work comes from taking this, reading it, and making it worthy of a proper theater going.
しかし
Still, I'm
何が
stumped.
なんだかさっぱりだまともに考え
On
た
on the face of it, the culprit has to be some mysterious person outside the Ushiromiya family.
それは魔女を認める
And that would be the same as acknowledging the existence of a witch. We can also suspect the existence of some accomplices aiding the culprit.
そもそも
In the first place, what was the purple text? Oh, finalmente! In the first place, what was that purple text all about?
新しいルー
A
ル
new rule?
紫の発
I call them purple statements.
話を分かりやすく
It's a rule I made to make the story a bit easier to follow.
紫の発
Just think of purple statements as important spoken statements.
逆に
In other words, you might be able to ignore the spoken statements that aren't purple.
ほうそりゃ親切な
Well,
話
that's
だな
nice of you.
では
Then,
紫
are the purple statements as reliable as the truth?
ええ
Yes.
紫の発
You can think of the purple statements as having the same power as red truth.
ただし
However, there is one exception.
それは
The culprit can lie
紫の発
with the
言に
purple
嘘をつくことが
statements.
できるということ
I see.
な逆に言え
To
ば
turn it around, anyone who isn't a culprit can't tell lies.
紫の
Purple statement.
これがどうやら
These seem to be the key to Lady Bernkastel's game. È fighissimo, è una delle cose che adoro di più di episodio 8.
え
Yeah,
そう
that's right.
私のゲーム
I'll
の
explain the
ルールの
rules for
前
my
提を説
game.
明するわ
The definition of a culprit is one who murders. It is possible for a culprit to lie. It is possible for a culprit to lie even before committing murder. Characters who are not culprits only speak the truth. Characters who are not culprits cannot cooperate with the culprit. Quindi abbiamo solo gente che ammazza. Non esistono complici che aiutano senza uccidere. Se uno è in grado di mentire, vuol dire che ha ucciso o che ucciderà. A culprit must carry out all murders directly by their own hands. A culprit must not die. A culprit must be among the characters appearing in the story. Quindi niente 19esima persona. Purple statements are absolute as the red truths. However, a culprit can lie with purple statements.
以上よ。
That's all. That's all. That's all. The definition of a culprit is one who murders. Makes sense.
犯人は嘘をつく可能
It is possible for a culprit to lie. That seems reasonable enough too.
犯人は
It is possible for a culprit to lie even before committing murder. Well, no surprises there.
犯人でない人物
Characters who are not culprits only speak the truth.
ありがたい話
That is one we should be grateful for.
犯人でない人物
Characters who are not culprits cannot cooperate with a culprit, right?
これはつまり
So the culprit can't use any accomplices to create an alibi.
やられたな
Damn.
犯人をかばった
My guess was that someone had manufactured an alibi to cover for the culprit. But
お会いに
too bad for you.
犯人は全て
A culprit must carry out all murders directly by their own hands. In other words, there are no remote or indirect methods of murder like traps.
犯人
A
が死ぬこと
culprit must not
つ
die.
まり
In other words, no one can commit murder, set up a locked room, and then commit suicide inside it.
それはつまり
It doesn't. Also, it doesn't mean that dead people can't be culprits.
それは地味に
That
重
is a
要な
very
情報
vital
である
piece of information. Sì, non possono morire, ma questo non vuol dire che non possono far finta di morire. Non possono morire, ma se ci sono più colpevoli, si può aggirare questa regola. Se fosse solo uno che fa finta di morire e un'altra persona conferma la sua morte, l'altra persona non sta mentendo e quindi quella persona è morta per davvero, non può essere il colpevole. Interessante, perché questo ha a che fare con la prima Twilight, no? Dove c'è qualcuno che conferma la morte di qualcun altro. In quel caso possiamo già dire adesso che c'è più di un colpevole, per forza. Beh, oddio, non per forza. Però è una perfect locked room otherwise. Se nessuno da dentro non... Come hanno detto Beato e Butler prima, entrambi pensano che qualcuno sia morto dentro. Cioè qualcuno dentro tra i morti faccia finta di essere il colpevole. Di conseguenza, qualcuno che non è morto deve essere anche lui colpevole. Anche lui, lei colpevole. Perché conferma la morte di quest'altra persona e quindi se sta mentendo vuol dire che anche lui è un colpevole.
犯人は登場人物
A culprit must be among the characters appearing in the story.
未知の人物が
So
島
no
に紛れ
mysterious
込んで
stranger sneaking onto the
な
island.
しってわけだ
登場人物
The appearing characters are the same old 17 people after Kinzo is removed.
それ以外は登場し
No one else appears in the story, so no one else matters.
紫の発言は赤き真実
Purple statements are as absolute as red truths. However, a culprit can lie with
紫
purple
の発言で
statements.
嘘がつきこれが厄介
Now that's a troublesome one.
ゲームの
This could be the heart of this game.
それで
Is
ゲー
that
ムの
all
前
for the
提とやらば
game's
終わりだ
premises?
最後に付け加え
Besides
ると
that,
したら
I guess there's only the reader will tell no lies.
つまり
In other words, there are no lies in the non-dialogue narrative text. Narrative text.
やってもよかった
I could have done that if I wanted, but it would be a pain and make things complicated.
魔女の特権を見せ
So, you willingly abandoned the witch's privileges?
大した
You seem quite confident.
それでも勝て
She
るぞ
probably plans to win despite that.
私からは以上
That's all for me.
これ以上
I don't intend to give you any more hints or answer any more questions.
立ち会い人として
As the observer, I proclaim this once again. I guarantee that it's possible to identify the culprit with this information.
よし
Okay,
了解した
got it.
腕が鳴るぞ
I can't wait to get started. Me too, Beatrice.
そなたと共に
I can't
我が
believe the two of us are going to take on the same mystery together once more.
ああ
Yeah,
楽しませてもらおう
let's
ぜ
make the most of it. This is a real game between you and me. I recommend finding some paper and something to write with. That is, if you really intend to fight me. If you do get completely stuck, maybe you should listen in on Butler and Beato's reasoning. We'll have those be hints for when you get absolutely stumped and can't move forward. Still, I'd rather fight you one-on-one. If you plan to enjoy our little duel, then try defeating me by your own power alone, without relying on hints. So, let's enjoy ourselves, shall we? Enjoy this game I've created just for you. Eccoci qua! Quello che dicevo, Jover. Che dicevi che non sei bravo nei quiz, ma sei bravo nel risolvere i misteri, gli assassini. Eccoci qua! Dobbiamo risolverla noi. Dobbiamo risolverla noi. Che bello! Matita e taccuino alla mano. Allora, reread story, no. Display rules. Check purple by person by chapter. Hints, lasciamo stare. E identify culprits è la fine. Sì, io direi andare prima by chapter piuttosto che by person. First Twilight. 6 corpses. Allora, cerchiamo di fare una cosa. Perché questo è rosso? Ah, ok, è la red truth. Ok. Allora. The dining hall was locked up. Questo viene detto da Goda. Kumasawa, that's when I arrived. When I locked the door with a master key, terrifying sight awaited me. Eva-sama, Hideyoshi-sama, Rudolph-sama, Kirie-sama, Rosa-sama and Genji-san, 6 people in all were lying there, covered in blood. A great tumult followed, everyone gathered in the dining hall. Qua non vedo nulla di sospetto, onestamente. Qua stanno solo descrivendo quello che è successo. Se qualcuno sta mentendo qui... Tra l'altro, è una cosa fantastica, se riusciamo a capire chi sta mentendo, abbiamo già un colpevole. E di conseguenza le persone collegate. Qua non vedo nulla di sospetto, nel caso possiamo tornare dopo, perché questo è solo statement di quello che è successo. Checking the corpses. There was a chance they might have been alive still. Everyone was shaking them desperately. But it was no use. The death of each parent was confirmed by their own child. Questo è quello che dicevo prima. Se qualcuno delle persone dentro è già morto, come è stato suggerito da Butler... Scusa, se qualcuno delle persone morte all'interno della stanza non è veramente morto, ma è un colpevole... collega anche uno, in questo caso i figli o i servants, nel caso di Genji. Infatti Dr. Nanjo and I confirmed that Genji-sama was dead. It was such a terrible way to be killed, Doctor or not. Ok, qua, e come sempre, sono morti tutti quanti istantaneamente. Quindi abbiamo la First Twilight dove muoiono 6 persone. Adesso me lo preparo. First Twilight abbiamo... scusa un secondo, Jover, torno indietro per scrivermi le persone. Eva, Hideyoshi. Abbiamo Eva, Ide, Rud, Kir, Rosa, Rose e Genji. Gen. Prima. Seconda abbiamo Kraus, Kra e Natsui, Nat. Terza abbiamo... no, terza non c'è nessuno. Quarta. Quarta abbiamo... Ah, sta facendo foto, ok, bene. Quarta abbiamo... Chi è che moriva? Era cosa? Shannon. E faccio, vabbè, can anche. Vabbè, conta come 1 però. Quinto più sesto. Quinto più sesto sono morti, mi sembra. Sì, God e Kumasawa. Go e Kum. Kum. La settima, che era Nanjo. Nan. E la ottava, che era Jessica. Jess. Quindi alla fine abbiamo i Survivors, che sono, vabbè, Kinzo non c'è, sono Butler, Bat, Maria e George. Sono gli unici 3 sopravvissuti. Bene, allora. Locked room crime scene. After inspecting the interior of the dining hall, we determined that all of the doors and windows had been locked, making it a locked room. And nothing suspicious was found inside the dining hall. There was no one hiding in the dining hall either. Naturally, all of us are here right now. It's clear that no one is hiding. Allora, qua possiamo già cominciare a fare un po' di theory crafting. Se Kraus sta mentendo, vuol dire che non tutto era chiuso e che possibilmente qualcuno si sta nascondendo qui. Se Butler sta mentendo, è possibile che è stato trovato qualcosa di sospetto all'interno della dining hall, ma che magari è stato nascosto da lui, nel caso sta mentendo, è uno dei colpevoli. Se George sta mentendo, può darsi che ci fosse stato qualcuno di nascosto dentro la dining hall. Nel caso potrebbe essere anche lui, volendo. O qualcun altro con cui un altro colpevole. Ok, ricordiamoci queste cose. Genji's Master Key. We destroyed Genji's Master Key. Natsui. Se Natsui è colpevole, possibile che non l'abbia distrutta. Regarding the Master Keys, questo volevo rileggerlo. All doors can be locked or unlocked with a Master Key. Of course, it's possible to lock or unlock the doors from inside the room even without a Master Key. Si possono chiudere e sbloccare dall'interno senza Master Key, ricordiamo questa cosa. In this game we'll consider Master Keys to be the only keys that exist. There are 5 Master Keys in total, one is held by each of the 5 servants. The servants keep the Master Keys on their person at all time. It is impossible for them to be stolen, handed over or used by any humans other than themselves. E questa è abbastanza binding. Cioè, i servant sono Master Key, praticamente. Oh, salve, Doc Marmo, buonasera. Seconda Twilight. Che per il momento qua siamo a posto. God, Madame's room was locked. Shannon, I unlocked the door. Canon, Kraus-sama and Natsui-sama laid sprawl on the floor inside the room. Qua semplicemente se qualcuno di loro sta mentendo, la stanza non era aperta, ma non era chiusa, era aperta. Non è particolarmente importante. Se Canon sta mentendo, possibile che loro non fossero dentro e li ha portati lui dopo, nel caso, ma andiamo avanti. Checking the room and corpses. Butler, Dr. Nanjo checked their pulse. Then he announced that the 2 of them had died instantly. Correct, I confirm both of their deaths. There can be no doubt that they died instantly. I searched all over the room looking for a clue. In the end I found that the windows and doors were all locked, making it a locked room. Allora, se Butler sta mentendo, però la sua frase ha a che fare con Nanjo. Quindi se Butler sta mentendo in questo momento, implica anche Nanjo. Anche Nanjo potrebbe diventare un colpevole, ma Nanjo poi muore alla fine. Dovremmo vedere come sono i purple statements riguardo Nanjo dopo. Jessica dice che ha guardato dappertutto e le finestre e le porte erano chiuse, making it a locked room. Ok, quindi Kraus e Natsui sono morti. Se sono veramente morti, possiamo toglierli anche dalla lista dei colpevoli. E riguardo la loro morte, abbiamo Butler e Nangio praticamente che vouchano, come posso dire, che confermano la loro morte. Dipende da loro. Quindi se uno di loro si rivela non essere colpevole, possiamo credere alla morte di Kraus e Natsui. Salve Ermicino, hai visto dove siamo? Alibis for the servants. All of us servants were together the whole time. All of us servants can prove an alibi for all of the other servants. Ok. Allora, qui se stanno mentendo, vuol dire che tutti i servant sono colpevoli? Sto pensando, è un punto di domanda. No, abbiamo ancora un'ora. Anzi, 2. No, un'ora. E io ho subito dubitato di questa, perché è molto generale. Questa o implica o scagiona tutti quanti i servant. All of us servants were together the whole time. All of us servants can prove an alibi for all of the other servants. Questi due statement o scagionano tutti quanti i servant o li implicano tutti quanti. Il che è una grande cosa. Andiamo avanti per il momento. Perceiving the crime scene. We put duct tape all over the outside of the doors and windows, sealing them. I'm sure that the culprit left some sort of clue in this room. We made sure that no one would be able to enter or leave until the police arrived. Ok. We also sealed the dining hall in the same way. We reached the conclusion that the entire mansion itself should be preserved. We also sealed the mansion itself and all of us took refuge in the guest house. Allora, quello che stai dicendo... Allora, partiamo dall'alto. Allora, we put duct tape all over the outside and doors, of the doors and windows, sealing them. Ok. Quindi... se Maria sta mentendo vuol dire che non l'hanno chiuso, però tutti quanti dicono la stessa cosa in questo caso, che stanno chiudendo. Anche Nangio lo dice, dopo abbiamo anche the seals. The group sealed the room at the same time they left. No culprit joined the group as they left. Also the seals on Natsui's room, the dining room, will never be broken. Ok. Allora, quindi non per forza scagioniamo Maria. Non per forza scagioniamo Maria. Perché c'è scritto che il colpevole può mentire, non che menta sempre. Perché quello che dice è vero, è confermato con la red truth. Però può essere che in questo caso, se lei fosse colpevole, anche se dopo abbiamo la red truth, la purple statement sul fatto che lei non possa uccidere nessuno, va bene, la scagionerebbe in questo caso. Vabbè, andiamo avanti. Jessica, we made sure that no one would be able to enter or leave until the police arrived. Ok, se Jessica sta mentendo, qualcuno poteva uscire o entrare. Però dice we, è vero, è vero. Quindi vabbè, questa la prendiamo come vera allora, in questo caso. C'hai ragione, Jover. Non dice solo I, dice we. Then we did the same to the dining hall. We also sealed the dining hall in the same way. Ok. Però we che cosa si intende? Tutti quanti? Vabbè. Può darsi che intenda tutti quanti. We reached the conclusion that the entire mansion itself should be preserved. We also sealed the mansion itself and all of us took refuge in the guest house. Questo è confermato, tutto quello che dice Nanji in questo momento è confermato. The mansion construction, all the windows have steel bars on them, it's impossible to enter or leave by them. Non si esce dalle finestre. Therefore, we'll say that they can seal the whole mansion by sealing the two doors. Dal mansion si entra o si esce dalla porta. Non si esce dalle finestre. The culprit of the first twilight has definitely killed 6 people. The culprit of the first twilight has definitely killed 6 people. Però sono morte 8 persone. Sei più 2. Perché limitare a 6? Sì. Che non dice... Qua siamo alla seconda Twilight, non siamo alla prima. Sono morte 8 persone. Esatto. Però mi sospettisce il 6 e non 8. Che questo darebbe più credenza alla prima teoria di Butler, che qualcuno fosse morto, che qualcuno dei primi non fosse morto. Esatto, e un altro è colpevole. Ce ne sarebbero almeno 2. 2. Quindi 4, gli altri 4 e i 2 Kraus e Natsui. Seals on the Room l'abbiamo letto. Questa roba è importante, questa me la segno. 6 morti alla seconda Twilight. Quarta. Shannon and Canon vanish. Jordan Neeson got upset. We all went out to look for them. Kumasawa, we found Shannon's son, vabbè. I pray she was still alive. However, I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. I also examined her and confirmed their death. Allora. Va bene. Seals, vai. Allora, I pray she was still alive. I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. Of course, I also examined her and confirmed their death. Allora, abbiamo 2 persone che confermano la morte, George e Nanjo. Nanjo sta confermando un sacco di morti. Però in questo caso devono essere, se non è vero, sia George che Nanjo devono essere colpevoli. Se non è vero. E questa cosa rende complicata la struttura, perché Nanjo è d'accordo con tante persone. Nella prima, fammi vedere, Checking the Corpses, Nanjo ha confermato. E anche ogni singola... No, non è vero, aspetta. Non è vero, no. No one examining a body will reach the wrong conclusion. Ok, quindi praticamente sta dicendo che solo il colpevole può mentire in questo caso, perché è palese che i corpi siano morti. Quindi, qua dice che Dr. Nanjo and I confirmed the Genji-san. Dr. Nanjo and I, Canon, hanno confermato la morte di Genji. Mentre per ogni genitore è stato il figlio a confermare la loro morte. Ok, andiamo avanti. Va bene, comunque il fatto che Nanjo è d'accordo spesso con tante persone, il che implicherebbe troppe persone. Alibi, Goda. None of us has an alibi. Stavolta nessuno. Me, Killer, Jessica. At least regarding Shannon's death, it was impossible for George Neeson to be the murderer. To turn it around, anyone could have killed her besides George Aniki. Anche qua, Jessica e Butler che dicono, che garantiscono che George non l'ha uccisa. Se Jessica è colpevole, questo implica anche Butler. Se Butler è colpevole e sta mentendo, implica anche Jessica. Perché non potrebbero mentire altrimenti. Ricordiamo, la regola è che il colpevole può mentire ma non sempre mente, mentre gli altri non possono mai mentire, solo i colpevoli possono. Shannon, we destroyed the master key that Shannon's son had held on the spot. E potrebbe implicare anche George, certo. È vero. E qua se mente Goda, vabbè, Goda potrebbe avere 2 master key nel caso fosse il colpevole. Canon and the master key. From now on, Canon is treated as having been killed. Also, Canon's master key is treated as being destroyed. Va bene. 5th and 6th Twilight. Judging by these wounds, Goda-san and Kumasawa-san died instantly. Goda-san and Kumasawa-san are both dead. Di nuovo Nanjo che è d'accordo questa volta con Jessica. Prima era d'accordo con George e nella seconda era d'accordo con Butler. Cioè Nanjo è d'accordo con troppe persone. Oh, grazie del ride intanto ragazzi, benvenuti. E bentornato Andrew. Stiamo risolvendo un gioco. Stiamo risolvendo un gioco, Andrew. Ci è stato presentato un gioco, adesso non possiamo... Adesso stiamo guardando tutte quante le prove, ma non possiamo rifarti tutto quanto il riassunto. Mi spiace. Almeno io non posso, se qualcun altro vuole farlo, però... di solito Giover è quello che fa riassunti e siamo occupati a risolvere. Sa di fatto che Bernkastel ha fatto un gioco e sta combattendo contro Butler e Beatrice. E noi abbiamo tutto quello che è successo nel gioco. Qui queste sono le varie Twilight. Ti dico le regole. Il viola è red truth, che può essere usata da tutti, meno che il colpevole. Però anche il colpevole può usare il viola. Semplicemente non ha effetto. Io che non ho contesto, lo so, ma siamo a tipo 180 ore di lettura. Mi spiace. Non possiamo farti 180 ore di riassunti. Sì, eravamo arrivati qui, dunque. Ah beh, Umineko è fantastico. È la seconda volta che lo leggo, anzi la terza se contiamo quella volta che ho letto il fumetto, il manga. È bellissimo. Sì, è lo stesso autore, è Ryukishi 07. Allora, stiamo guardando qui. The two corpses, judging by this wound, goddess... Ah, abbiamo detto sì che Nanjo e Jessica sono d'accordo. E adesso io a sentimento vi direi che potremmo scagionare Nanjo, ma fino a che non muore lo lascio lì. Gli metto una crocetta vicino, perché è d'accordo con troppe persone. E implicherebbe troppe persone, cioè non è che possono essere tutti quanti colpevoli, non ci sono abbastanza cadaveri, ok? Sto provando a risolvere ora il mistero. Noi dobbiamo solo trovare chi è il colpevole. È solo l'unico mistero è questo. Alibis. Il colpevole potrebbe dire la verità, certo. Però il fatto è che Nanjo è d'accordo con troppe persone. È una cosa, ecco. Butler, we have been busy keeping on lookout. Keep looking and looking up and all that. Once again, none of us has an alibi. It's not true. Blood splatters, giusto, blood splatters. Jessica, the four cousin and Dr. Nanjo couldn't have killed Goda-san and Kumasawa-san. Ok, Jessica sta dando un alibi per tutti con questo. Sì, è vero, Jover. È vero. È un'acuta osservazione. A cui Jessica sta dando un alibi a tutti. Se Jessica è un colpevole, questo alibi non è... scusa, questa purple statement non è valido. E quindi non ci sarebbe alibi per nessuno. Se confermiamo, se riusciamo in qualche punto a confermare che Jessica non è un colpevole, allora abbiamo un alibi per tutti nella quinta e sesta Twilight. Preserving the crime scene, the guest house was completely locked up. No master key exists except the two keys on the two people who lie dead here. Allora, beh, Andrew, io ti posso dire, fammi tornare indietro, rules. Queste sono le regole. Se vuoi farti una foto. The definition of a culprit is one who murders. It is possible for a culprit to lie. It is possible for a culprit to lie even before committing the murder. Characters who are not culprits only speak the truth. Characters who are not culprits may not cooperate with a culprit. Non esistono complici che non uccidono. A culprit must carry out all murders directly by their own hands. A culprit must not die. A culprit must be among the characters appearing in the story. Purple statements are as absolute as red truths. However, the culprit alone may lie with purple statements. Outside the spoken statements, there are no lies in the narration. Ok. Quindi, le cose più importanti sono che un colpevole, i colpevoli devono uccidere direttamente, niente trappole. Non ci sono complici, ci sono solo colpevoli. Solo il colpevole può mentire. Vabbè, il colpevole poi è uno dei personaggi della storia, vabbè, sti cazzi. E poi il discorso dei purple statements, che sono red truth tranne per il colpevole, che può decidere di mentire. Noi eravamo arrivati qua. Settima. Nanjo's corpse. He's dead, he's been killed. This was an instant death. Everything is locked up perfectly. Allora, di nuovo, se Jessica è colpevole, abbiamo Jessica e George che confermano la morte di Nanjo. Se scagioniamo uno dei due, confermiamo Nanjo, e quindi Nanjo non può essere un colpevole, e quindi c'è tutto quanto un domino. Is one of the four the culprit? Maria, Butler, George Neeson and I couldn't have killed Dr. Nanjo. No one could have killed Dr. Nanjo inside the guest house. Simply put, it is proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. Allora, se Jessica sta mentendo, qualcuno di loro può aver ucciso Nanjo. Se George sta mentendo, qualcuno di loro avrebbe potuto uccidere Nanjo dentro la guest house. Però, se George sta mentendo, anche Jessica deve star mentendo, perché altrimenti non è possibile fare, cioè, che qualcuno di loro li abbia uccisi. Se Butler sta mentendo, this is proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. Se Butler sta mentendo, vuol dire che Dr. Nanjo è uscito e qualcuno l'ha ucciso da fuori, e questo non va in contrasto con quello che dice Jessica e George. Non dipende da niente quello che dice Butler in questo momento. Posso passare oltre? Beh, bevo un goccetto d'acqua nel mentre. Ottava. Jessica's corpse. Poor Jessica Chan, she probably died instantly. There's no way she could live through this. Semplicemente loro due che confermano la morte di Jessica. Quindi adesso faccio tutto quanto una lista di persone che confermano la morte di altre persone. Who killed her? George, Aniki, Maria and I couldn't have killed Jessica. The three of us couldn't have killed Jessica. Maria Chan couldn't kill anyone. Giorgio Nichan could only kill a kid. Vabbè, ok. È particolarmente importante questa cosa. Se Butler sta mentendo, vuol dire che qualcuno di loro tre può aver ucciso qualcuno. Se Maria sta mentendo, la stessa cosa. Se George sta mentendo, Maria potrebbe uccidere qualcuno. Se Maria sta mentendo, George può uccidere un bambino, ma l'unico bambino che è lì è Maria, quindi non è particolarmente importante come cosa. Adesso che siamo arrivati alla fine, voglio fare chi conferma la morte di chi. Così abbiamo tutto l'albero delle conferme di morte. Quindi abbiamo George e Maria che confermano la morte di Jessica. Quindi Geo e Mar confermano Jessica. Andando a ritroso, Jessica conferma la morte. Jessica e George confermano la morte di Nanjo. Geo, Nan, prima. Nanjo conferma la morte di Goda e Kumasawa. E anche Jessica lo fa. Go e Kum. Il Kum, la Kum anche in questo caso. George e Nanjo confermano la morte di Shannon. Geo e Nan confermano Lay sprawl inside of the floor non vuol dire nulla. Check the room and corpses. Nanjo è l'unico che conferma la morte di Kraus e Natsui. Abbiamo Nan che conferma Kraus e Natsui. E nella prima abbiamo Kumasawa che dice che l'Hider covered in blood, non dice dead, covered in blood. Checking the corpse, the death of each parent was confirmed by their child. Quindi abbiamo, devo andare nell'altra pagina. Quindi abbiamo l'ordine qua, Eva, quindi George, Geo che conferma Eva e Hideyoshi. Abbiamo Butler, Bat che conferma Rudolph e Kyrie. Abbiamo Maria che conferma Rosa. E abbiamo Kanon e Nanjo che confermano Genji. Kan e Nan che confermano Genji. Boh, ok. Adesso ho tutti quanti i confermi di chi. C'è un'interessante catena di conferme nelle ultime 4 Twilight. Abbiamo George e Maria che confermano Jessica. Jessica e George che confermano Nanjo. Nanjo e Jessica che confermano God e Kumasawa. Io vi direi che potremmo anche pensare alle locked rooms per vedere se riusciamo a giocarci attorno. La prima locked room, after inspecting the interior of the dining hall, we determined that all the doors and windows had been locked, making it a locked room. Nothing suspicious was found inside the dining hall. There was no one hiding in the dining hall either. Naturally, all of us are here now. It's clear that no one is hiding. Ok, quindi nella stanza dove sono morti Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, Kyrie, Rosa e Genji abbiamo 6 persone a terra coperte di sangue. La loro morte è confermata dai loro figli o, nel caso di Genji, da Kanon e Nanjo. E poi qua, vabbè, qua si dice che la stanza era completamente chiusa. C'erano del Red Truth riguardo... No, qua è solo della Master Key, non c'entra. Sappiamo però che, allora, le Master Key... se la porta era chiusa, poteva essere chiusa con una Master Key da fuori o essere chiusa da dentro da qualcuno che faceva finta di essere morto. Perché le porte possono essere chiuse e aperte da dentro, ma non da fuori. Da fuori solo con la Master Key. Se è chiusa da fuori, vuol dire che il colpevole è uno dei Servant. Ma tutti i Servant muoiono, tutti quanti. E, se ricordo bene, nella seconda Twilight... c'è questa cosa di Shannon e Kanon che danno l'alibi a tutti quanti i Servant. Quindi se riusciamo a confermare che Shannon e Kanon non sono colpevoli, possiamo dare un alibi a tutti i Servant? Fila il ragionamento? Sto cercando di far fuori persone dalla lista dei sospettati. Così possiamo cominciare a lavorare sul fare l'indovina chi. Certo, esatto, è vero. Un colpevole che non ha ancora ucciso può comunque mentire perché ucciderà dopo. Allora, mentre penso, faccio un riassunto veloce per Andrew. Allora, prima Twilight sono morti Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, Kyrie, Rosa e Genji. La loro morte è confermata dai loro figli o, nel caso di Genji, da Kanon e Nanjo. La stanza era tutta quanta chiusa, finestre e porte, e questa è la prima Twilight. Seconda Twilight, Rudolph, ancora, Kraus e Natsui nella loro stanza, nella stanza di Natsui se ricordo bene, chiusa a chiave, morti dentro, la finestra e la porta chiusa. Quarta Twilight, Shannon ritrovata morta nel giardino. Quinta e sesta, Goda e Kumasawa morti nella guest house. Nessuno aveva un alibi, se non per il fatto che qua dicono che qualcuno si dovrebbe essere sporcato di sangue, ma nessuno di loro è sporco di sangue, e quindi Jessica dice che nessuno di loro può averli uccisi. Settima, Nanjo muore, viene trovato nel corridoio della guest house. Qua dicono che è morto, ok, everything is locked up. E Jessica dice che nessuno di loro può averlo ucciso. George dice che nessuno potrebbe averlo ucciso dentro. E Butler conferma this is proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. Ottava, la morte di Jessica. George conferma che è morta, Maria conferma che è morta. Who killed her? Butler dice che nessuno di loro può averlo ucciso, Maria dice che nessuno di loro può averlo uccisa, George dice che Maria non può aver ucciso nessuno, Maria dice che George non potrebbe aver ucciso nessuno se non un bambino, però l'unica bambina è lei, quindi non ha molto valore particolare. Lei anche conferma che George non può aver ucciso nessuno. Ok? Sta di fatto che non si può uscire dalle finestre, cioè è sempre tutto quanto chiuso. Si può uscire solo dalle porte. Il fatto che è vero, ci sono stati messi i seals con lo nastro adesivo come Erika, e sappiamo dalla Red Truth che questi seals non sono mai stati chiusi, non sono stati mai rotti. Tutti quanti i seals, nessuno è mai stato rotto. Almeno, aspetta, fammi controllare. Seals on the room. The group sealed the room at the same time they left. No culprit joined the group as they left. Also, all the seals on Natsui's room, the dining hall and the mansion itself will never be broken. Natsui's room, dining hall and the mansion. Non menziona la guest house. Puzza sotto il naso. Puzza sotto il naso quando non menzionano una cosa. Quando così specifica, Natsui's room, the dining hall and the mansion itself will never be broken. Non ci sono statement sullo stato dei seals nella guest house. Dire che qualcuno potrebbe essere entrato. Non ci sono statement. Allora, preserving the crime scene. C'è una cosa. George dice qui, I guess that someone might have snuck in, so I checked around, but the guest house was still completely locked up. Quindi, o George sta mentendo, e quindi, giusto, c'è anche un'altra cosa che dobbiamo dire ad Andrew. Nel Red Truth che ci sono state date da Bernkastel della seconda Twilight, riguardo il colpevole della prima, dice in rosso che il colpevole della prima Twilight ha ucciso senza dubbio 6 persone. Perché 6 se sono morte 8 persone? Nella settima Maria dice che tutto everything is locked up perfectly. Locked up, però non sealed. Dice almeno 6. E il fatto che c'è almeno 6 io lo interpreterei subito con 6. Perché altrimenti sarebbero 8. E quindi tu non c'eri, ma quando sono andati quando hanno letto della prima Twilight, Butler e Beatrice hanno subito detto: la cosa mi puzza. Secondo me qualcuno della prima Twilight non è morto, sta facendo finta di essere morto e di conseguenza noi siamo arrivati alla conclusione logica che se qualcuno della prima Twilight è morto e i loro figli, o nel caso di Genji, Kanon e Nanjo, hanno mentito pure loro e quindi anche loro devono essere assassini. Di conseguenza avremmo già l'assassino dalla prima Twilight, cioè già delineabile dalla prima Twilight. Facciamo una cosa. Eh sì. Dov'è che è locked up? Era qui. No. Preserving the crime scene. Locked up. Locked non è sealed. Eh sì. Allora. Facciamo una cosa. Facciamo un po' di immaginazione. Proviamo a fare dei casi. Proviamo a dire: caso 1, Eva e Hideyoshi sono i colpevoli. Caso 2, e quindi di conseguenza George, famiglia, Eva, Hideyoshi, George. Caso 2, Rudolph, Kiri e Butler colpevole. Caso 3, Rosa, Maria. Caso 4, Kanon, Nanjo, Genji. Negli ultimi due casi, con Maria e Rosa e Kanon, Nanjo e Genji, sarebbero 7 le persone uccise al tempo della seconda Twilight. Dice come minimo 6. Non vuol dire che non possono essere 7. In che ordine vogliamo farlo? Vogliamo farlo in quest'ordine? Con George, Eva e Hideyoshi, poi Butler, Rudolph, Kirie, poi Maria, Rosa, poi Kanon, Nanjo, Genji. In questo caso volete provare a fare un altro caso? Prima, qual è quello che vi ispira di più? Facciamo così, tanto non cambia nulla. Ok, sono d'accordo, andiamo in ordine dei morti. Quindi, proviamo a fare del theory crafting con George, Eva e Hideyoshi colpevoli. Dunque, prima Twilight, Eva e Hideyoshi si fingono morti, anzi, Eva e Hideyoshi uccidono Kirie, Rudolph, Rosa e Genji, si fingono morti. Dopo, quando arrivano gli altri, qua arriva Goda e trova la stanza chiusa, Kumasawa arriva, Goda apre la porta, vedono la gente morta, e poi tutti quanti arrivano. Ok, qua la gente conferma la morte dei propri genitori. In questo caso, se George, se Eva e Hideyoshi sono i colpevoli, anche George è un colpevole, perché vuol dire che dopo ucciderà qualcuno, e quindi gli altri sono morti. Vediamo se c'è qualche inconsistenza. Qua George dice qualcosa? There was no one hiding in the dining hall either. Allora, mi ricordo l'indovinello di Kire, dove solo una persona dice la verità. Lì la risposta, infatti, era quella di trovare quelli due che dicono la verità, e qui non è giusto. Suppongo che qui si possa invece cercare quando dicono due contraddizioni. Vero. Allora, se diamo per scontato che quello che George sta dicendo no, non è vero, potrebbe essere falso, non è detto che sia per forza falso. There was no one hiding in the dining hall può essere vero, perché non devono nascondersi, possono far finta di essere morti, non sono nascosti. Quindi andiamo avanti così. Genji's Master Key, Natsui dice che l'ha distrutta. Ok, andiamo avanti. Natsui's and Kraus room. Madam's room was locked, I locked the door. Kanon vanno per terra. Butler, qua non c'è scritto, non c'è nulla di George. Non c'è nulla di George nella second Twilight. Quello che potrebbe essere successo è che con Kraus e Natsui dentro la stanza di Natsui si sono chiusi a chiave. Qualcuno di loro, che o Eva o Hideyoshi o George, però aspetta, gli alibi per i servant non c'è nessuno. Cioè no, scusa, c'è tra di loro hanno tutti quanti un alibi. Qua è conferma della morte. Eh sì, vuol dire che gli hanno aperto. A chiunque sia il colpevole, vuol dire che solo i servant possono da fuori. Ma è possibile, l'aveva detto anche Butler, che abbia aperto dall'interno, che abbia bussato alla porta, gli abbia aperto e dopo sono stati uccisi. Eh sì, sono le uniche due possibilità. Se è un servant, vuol dire che hanno aperto senza il loro consenso. Se non era un servant, vuol dire che loro hanno aperto la porta da dentro. Come loro possono chiuderla da dentro, possono aprirla da dentro. Ok. In realtà questo non ci dice molto per il caso che stiamo vedendo in questo momento. Qualsiasi di loro, George, Hideyoshi o Eva, può aver bussato alla porta, hanno aperto, li ha uccisi e poi si può essere nascosto dentro. E aspetta, cerchiamo di risolvere com'è possibile la morte di Natsui e Kraus. The room was locked. I unlocked the door. Kraus-sama and Natsui-sama lay sprawled on the floor. Dr. Nanjo checked their pulse, then he announced that the two of them had died instantly. Correct, I have confirmed that both their deaths. There can be no doubt that they died instantly. I searched all over the room looking for a clue. In the end I found that the windows and doors were all locked, making it a locked room. Quindi Jessica conferma che è una locked room. Dimmi, cosa hai notato, Jover? Aspetto. Poi ricordo che abbiamo anche la possibilità di vedere i purple statements divise per persona. Qui Butler conferma che Nanjo ha detto quelle cose, che non che siano la verità. Qui Nanjo può aver detto quelle cose mentendo e Butler potrebbe stare confermando unicamente che l'abbia detta. È vero. Qui in questo caso non implica Nanjo e Butler nel caso la menzogna di Nanjo non implica Butler, in questo caso, è vero. Andiamo avanti. George Neeson got upset. We all went out to look for them. I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. I also examined and confirmed her death. Ok. Alibis. None of us had alibis. At least regarding Shannon's death, it was impossible for George Neeson to be the murderer. To turn it around, anyone could have killed her besides George Aniki. Se stiamo dando per scontato che George è il colpevole, non per forza deve averla uccisa lei. Possono essere stati Eva e Hideyoshi. Questa cosa non scagiona per forza George. We destroyed the master key Shannon-san held on the spot. Nanjo conferma la morte di Goda e Kumasawa. Alibi. E anche Jessica lo fa. Butler dice none of us had alibi. George dice that's not true. Look, considering the way they were killed, the culprit would definitely get blood splatter on themselves. E poi Jessica dice the four cousins and Dr. Nanjo couldn't have killed Goda-san and Kumasawa-san. Però potrebbe averlo fatto qualcuno, i genitori, che siano di Maria, di Butler o di George, non importa. The guest house was still completely locked up. Va bene, se sono già entrati prima, volendo, possono aver richiuso. Non è importante. Cioè, questa affermazione lascia un po' il tempo che trova. No master keys exist except the two keys on the two people who lie dead here. Ok. He's dead, he's been killed. This was an instant death. Questo non cambia tanto se sta mentendo o meno. Everything is locked up. Oddio, potrebbe essere che è stato colpito in una parte della stanza e poi uscito, però non cambia nulla. Cioè non influisce. Impossible, Maria Butler, John Neeson and I couldn't have killed Dr. Nanjo. Jessica dà un alibi per tutti. George è d'accordo, no one could kill Dr. Nanjo inside the guest house. Quindi vuol dire che qualcuno fuori avrebbe potuto, guardando il contrario di quello che dice. This is proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. Se Butler sta... Se in questo caso Butler non sta mentendo, perché stiamo guardando il caso di George, vuol dire che Dr. Nanjo è stato dentro. E di conseguenza è giusta anche quella cosa che dice George. Again, qua non è che uno mente sempre e uno dice sempre la verità. Però la verità di Butler implica la verità di George. E la verità di George implica la verità di Jessica. Sì, aspetta, questa è grande, Questa è grande. La verità di Butler implica la verità di George. E la verità di George implica la verità di Jessica. E quindi né Butler, né Maria, né George possono aver ucciso Nanjo. Però again possono averlo ucciso gli altri. Però aspetta, no, non può averlo inside the guest house. No one could have killed Nanjo inside the guest house. Aspetta, questa informazione è grossa, Perché Butler dà la conferma che Nanjo non è uscito. George dice che nessuno potrebbe averlo ucciso dentro. Quindi questo implica anche le altre persone che non sono Maria, Butler e George. Giusto? Cioè, seguite il ragionamento. E poi questo implica che Maria, Butler e George non sono colpevoli e quindi scagionerebbe George. Mi sembrava una cosa poco importante. E questo significa che Butler sta mentendo. Questa serie di purple statements è importante perché Butler confermando, e quindi anche questo potrebbe essere che anche Jessica sta mentendo, o Butler e Jessica stanno mentendo. Il fatto è che George non può mentire in questo momento perché quello che dice implica che nessuno potrebbe aver ucciso Nanjo dentro la guest house. Esatto, l'unico che rimane innocente è George. E quindi non so se vogliamo cercare altre prove, ma io scarterei la possibilità che George aveva Hideyoshi, perché non se ne esce altrimenti, a meno che non tiriamo fuori qualcos'altro. Ma ci mettiamo una croce vicino e passiamo al prossimo? Non definitiva, un segnetto per dire siamo quasi sicuri che non può essere stato George. Andrew, tu cosa ne pensi? This proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. Didn't leave the guest house. No one could kill Dr. Nanjo inside the guest house. Quindi io passerei a Jessica, Natsui e Kraus. Allora io metto una crocetta vicino alla prima possibilità. Tra l'altro non era neanche una possibilità quella. Io non sono sicuro, sto rileggendo tutto visto che non mi ricordo. Certo, ma ci sta. Ho messo una crocetta vicino a George e a Hideyoshi. Proviamo con Jessica Kraus, perché anche quella è una possibilità. Può essere che nella seconda Twilight nessuno sia morto e quindi comunque il colpevole però aspetta, no. Nella prima Twilight i colpevoli o sono dentro o sono servant. Nella prima o sono Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, Kirie, Rosa, Genji, o sono i servant, perché la porta era chiusa. Non possono essere stati Kraus e Natsui. Jessica non conferma l'identità di nessuno, certo. Sto pensando a come potrei metterci dentro Jessica e non può essere. Non può essere. Trovo infestano quando dicono Nanjo e Maria tolgono un sacco di sblocchi a una teoria parents più child uguale culprits. Sbocchi, non sblocchi. Quando dicono Nanjo e Maria tolgono un sacco di... quello, non quando. Quello che dicono Nanjo e Maria tolgono un sacco di sbocchi per una teoria parents più child uguale culprits. Il primo crepuscolo. All of the victims died instantly. All of the victims, però. Se qualcuno non è una vittima, non è morto istantaneamente. Doctor or not, no one examining a body will reach the wrong conclusion. Appunto, se il figlio e i genitori sono colpevoli, il figlio può mentire sul fatto che sono morti, perché nessuno ha guardato il cadavere, solo il figlio o, nel caso di Genji, Kanon e Nanjo. Chi è che confermava la morte di Nanjo? La morte di Nanjo è confermata da George e Jessica. Se scagioniamo George, scagioniamo anche Nanjo. E quindi anche tutte le analisi delle morti di Nanjo sono corrette. Dovremmo fare così, secondo me. Dovremmo cominciare a togliere un po' di possibili colpevoli. Questa cosa qua è importante. Il fatto è, com'è possibile che sia morto Nanjo? Se quello che George dice è vero, nessuno dentro la guest house può uccidere Nanjo. Quindi deve essere per forza andato fuori ad essere ucciso e poi portato dentro. E poi chiusa la porta. Jessica dice Maria Butler and George couldn't have killed Dr. Nanjo. Quindi questo lascia fuori la possibilità dei genitori di qualcuno di aver ucciso Nanjo. Ma George toglie questa possibilità dentro la guest house. Deve essere per forza stato fuori. E quindi metterebbe Butler come persona che sta mentendo in questo caso. Vogliamo provare a fare la teoria con Butler? Era la seconda dopo George, in ordine. Proviamo a fare la teoria con Butler colpevole? Butler, Rudolph e Kyrie colpevoli? Che ne dite? Ripartiamo dall'inizio, quindi. Facciamo la root, la famiglia dei... non lo so, con dei problemi. Come se le altre non ne avessero. Questo non importa. Check corpses. There was a chance that they might have been alive still. The death of each parent was confirmed by their child. E qua diciamo che la famiglia con i due veri colpevoli, è vero, è vero. E in questo caso, vabbè, è quello che abbiamo detto. In questa versione dei fatti Rudolph e Kyrie hanno ucciso tutti quanti, hanno fatto finta di essere morti. Poi Butler, che anche lui è un colpevole, quindi dopo deve uccidere qualcuno, Dobbiamo trovare anche qualcuno che viene ucciso da Butler. Conferma la loro morte, e poi si va avanti. Seconda. Seconda, Kraus e Natsui chiusi nella loro stanza, arriva chiunque, bussa, fanno entrare, li uccide e chiude la porta da dentro. Il fatto è che il problema qui è che the culprit of the first, no, seals on the room. The group left the room at the same time they left. No culprit joined the group as they left. Also, all the seals on Natsui's room, the dining hall and the mansion itself will never be broken. E però, aspetta, ho appena pensato una cosa. Qualcuno di loro si nasconde dentro e poi non esce più. Non importa. Non importa qui. Perché sono due. Capito? Dopo, quando c'è la morte di Nanjo, qualcuno da fuori può averlo ucciso, ma non servono due, ne serve uno. Quindi no culprit joined the group as they left. È rimasto dentro. È un jolly, esatto. È rimasto dentro. Quanto è bello risolvere questa cosa. Sto avendo l'epifania in tempo reale con voi. Col ragionamento proprio, che bello. Io ovviamente so la risposta, per carità. Non l'ho mai nascosto. Però non so il procedimento. Ed è bellissimo avere questi momenti insieme con voi. Ok, allora. Facciamo che Rudolph o Kyrie, chi volete di più? Rudolph che entra dentro e li uccide? O Kyrie? Togliamoci delle palle Kyrie. Va dentro lei, li uccide, poi si nasconde. Vabbè, o Rudolph, non importa. Uno dei due entra dentro, li uccide, si nasconde sotto il letto o dentro l'armadio o dentro il cazzo che volete, tanto è tutto un casino, non importa. E rimane lì. Gli altri se ne vanno. Abbiamo comunque fuori o Rudolph o Kyrie, insieme a Butler che sarà anche lui un assassino in questo caso. 4. La morte di chi uccide più. È vero, hai ragione, quindi è Rudolph. Lui ammazza questi qua e poi si chiude dentro e dice io ho dato. Abbiamo la morte di Shannon. You went outside and looked for them. I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. Quindi Georgia conferma la morte, Nanjo conferma la morte. Alibis. None of us had alibis. Qua potrebbe averlo ucciso chiunque. At least regarding Shannon's death, it was impossible for George Nissan to be the murderer. To turn it around, anyone could have killed her beside George Aniki. Qua, per togliermi la rottura di palle, potremmo mettere Butler come assassino, perché nessuno ha un alibi. Nessuno ha un alibi. Poi vabbè, sappiamo che la master key sua è stata distrutta, non è importante questo. Facciamo che per compiere... mettere la spunta sul è un assassino, facciamo che Butler ha ucciso. Non ci frega nulla di quello che dicono George in questo caso. Quinta e sesta. God and Kumasawa died instantly. Nanjo e Jessica confermano la morte. Alibis. Well, we have been busy, none of us had alibi. Butler dice nessuno di noi ha un alibi. Però potrebbe mentire e qualcuno di loro potrebbe avere un alibi. Infatti George poi dice that's not true, look, considering the way they were killed, the culprit would have definitely get blood splatter on themselves. But all of us, in other words, the four cousins and Dr. Nanjo couldn't have killed Kumasawa, Goda-san and Kumasawa-san. Kyrie. Perceiving the crime scene, but the guest house was completely locked up. Impossible, no master keys except the two. Ok, non importa master key o non master key. Se quando sono andati nella guest house Kyrie era già lì, non c'è nessuna contraddizione. Settima. Nanjo's corpse is dead, he's been killed. It was an instant death. Everything is locked up perfectly. Locked up, non sealed. Is one of the four the culprit. Eccola qua. Se Butler sta mentendo, vuol dire che Nanjo è uscito, Kyrie l'ha ucciso e dopo l'hanno portato dentro e hanno richiuso da fuori. Quindi per qualsiasi motivo Nanjo può essere riuscito a fumarsi una cicca, non lo so, è stato chiamato fuori, è stato ucciso, portato dentro e richiusa la porta. None of us could have killed inside the guest house, non è un problema, perché è stato ucciso, in questo caso è stato ucciso fuori. Maria Butler. Esatto, se Butler mente, Jessica e George sono a posto. Ottava, Jessica's corpse. Puts Jessica Chan, she probably died instantly. Maria, there's no way she could live through this. Maria e George confermano la morte di Jessica. Who killed her? Butler dice: The three of us were together the whole time. George, Aniki, Maria and I couldn't have killed Jessica. Yeah, the three of us couldn't have killed Jessica. Quindi Butler e Maria sono d'accordo. Maria couldn't kill anyone, ok? George couldn't kill an adult, non importa. Se si considera Jessica un kid, anche se non la considererei o kid, però se la consideriamo kid potrebbe essere stato George, però non stiamo facendo questo coso. Potrebbe essere stata Kiria ad aver ucciso Jessica. E qua si chiude. Io personalmente non ho trovato contraddizioni. Potrebbe essere questo il caso? Ci metto un segnalino vicino, un punto di domanda. Abbiamo altri due possibili casi, con Rosa Maria e poi i Servant, che anche questi puzzano perché hanno le master key, anche se sarebbe un po' troppo ovvio, sarebbe la cosa più easy. Proviamo con Maria Rosa, con Rosa e Maria. Qua nessuno di loro sta mentendo. Andiamo avanti. Checking the corpses. In questo caso Maria potrebbe aver confermato confermato la morte di Rosa. E andiamo avanti. All the victims died instantly. Questo non è importante. Locked room. Maria qua non dice niente. Destroyed, ok. Questo il problema però adesso è il problema però è che se no. Perché se nessuno poi segue, Rosa rimane chiusa dentro. Non può essere. Non abbiamo il jolly. Proviamo io metterei subito una croce qua su Maria Rosa. Fa troppo ridere Maria Rosa. Proviamo con i Servant allora, visto che sono di più. Bla 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 bla. Qua non importa. Qua potrebbero star mentendo tutti quanti. The dining hall was locked up. Però aspetta, no. Non possiamo dire i Servant. Dobbiamo dire dei Servant precisi. Perché poi muoiono. E quindi guardiamo i morti. Un colpevole non può essere un morto. Abbiamo quindi Nanjo, Goda, Kumasawa, Genji, Shannon e Kanon. Siamo 6 persone. Abbiamo 6 persone. 6 persone. Non possono essere i Servant. Perché non tutti cioè, o fanno finta tutti quanti di morire, però se fanno finta tutti quanti di morire è impossibile perché vengono confermati da altre persone. O c'è un misto strano di un Servant, un membro della famiglia, anche quella è una possibilità. Però no, perché aspetta, la morte di Genji è confermata da Kanon e Nanjo. Nanjo, quante persone conferma ancora? Nanjo conferma la morte di God e Kumasawa, di Shannon e di Kraus e Natsui e di Genji. Se anche solo una di queste è vera, non può... Aspetta, non è vero. No, è il contrario. No, è il contrario. No, niente, è il contrario. Vabbè, facciamo il theory crafting con chi però. Qua mi sono formato di nuovo. Con chi? Non posso escludere gente a priori. Prima cosa, muore Genji. Allora, Genji e mettiamo che Genji, Kanon e Nanjo. Genji, Kanon e Nanjo. Questa volta uno morto e due fuori. Seconda Twilight. Kraus e Natsui morti dentro la stanza. Genji può aprire la porta, ucciderli e nascondersi dentro. Alibis for the servant. All of us servants were together the whole time. Nessun problema. All of us servants can prove alibi for all the other servants. Nessun problema. Se Genji si nasconde dentro, abbiamo comunque Canon e Nanjo fuori, che possono uccidere. Guardiamo dopo. Poi, Forth, che è Shannon e Canon, che spariscono. Ok. Se mettiamo Canon dentro... però non possiamo avere Shannon fuori. Anche Shannon deve essere dentro. E Shannon trovano il corpo fuori. Non può essere. Dobbiamo mettere Genji dentro, per forza. E qua Nanjo conferma la sua morte. Canon che fa oltre che morire, mentire nella prima Twilight. Allora, per adesso possiamo andare avanti qua, così. We all went outside to look for them. I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. Cazzo! No! C'è George che conferma la morte. I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. E non può essere veramente morta. Altrimenti anche George è un colpevole. Però George non può aver ucciso nessuno. Facciamo così. Allora, io adesso mi faccio tutta quanta la tabella. Faccio tutta quanta la tabellina. Posso fare... Se faccio identify culprits, posso uscire, no? Sì, posso uscire, ok. No, volevo... Vabbè, la facciamo dopo. Allora, abbiamo... figo, sì. Allora, Kinzo neanche lo contiamo. Quindi, Kinzo niente. Abbiamo Rudolph, Kyrie, Butler, Eva, Hideyoshi, George. Giusto, prima ancora mi ero dimenticato. Kraus, Natsui, Jessica, Rosa, Maria, i servant, quindi Shannon, Canon, Kumasawa, Genji, Koda e poi abbiamo Nanjo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 con Kinzo. Mettiamo qua, ma Kinzo lo togliamo subito perché non è possibile. Ok. Io direi, vediamo se possiamo scagionare completamente George. Perché nella prima Twilight, se George è un colpevole e sta quindi mentendo, vuol dire che deve uccidere qualcuno dopo. Seconda Twilight non può essere stato lui, perché altrimenti sarebbe stato dentro la stanza. Potrebbe essere stata Eva o Hideyoshi nascosto dentro. Ok, certo. Però in questo caso non può essere stato George. Andiamo avanti. Terza, morte di Shannon. Gli altri confermano che non può essere stato George. E quindi qua nello specifico Jessica e Butler dicono che non può essere stato George. E quindi loro non sono i colpevoli. E quindi in questo caso loro non sono i colpevoli. E quindi George non può averlo uccisa. Sixth, qua dice quello del blood on themselves. Jessica dice the four. Qua l'avevamo risolta con l'altro genitore, che sia Eva, che sia Kyrie, non importa. Qui is dead, it was an instant death, conferma la morte di Nanjo. Qui però nessuno può averlo ucciso. E poi abbiamo la morte di Jessica. The three of us couldn't have killed Jessica. George, Annika e Maria and I couldn't have killed Jessica. E George non può aver ucciso nessuno. Non c'è un'occasione dove George può aver ucciso qualcuno. George è innocente. No, aver aiutato certo, ma stiamo cercando un caso dove George ha ucciso qualcuno. Se George non ha occasione per uccidere nessuno, non può essere un colpevole, perché un colpevole è qualcuno che uccide. Non può essere stato George. In nessun caso. Anche se ignoriamo la parte di Nanjo dove ci siamo fermati prima, anche dopo non c'è un'occasione per George di uccidere nessuno. Quindi, George è un angioletto. George è un angioletto. Possiamo credere a George. Dai, let's go. Adesso cominciamo a fare indovina chi. Quindi Maria Chan couldn't have killed anyone. Anche Maria è un angioletto. Perché George è un angioletto. Maria di conseguenza scagiona George, non importa. Jessica's corpse. She died instantly. Non può essere stata Jessica perché è morta. Togliamo dall'equazione anche Eva Hideyoshi, certo. Hideyoshi, Eva. Togliamo Jessica perché è morta. Se è morta non è un colpevole. E quindi anche quello che dice Jessica è vero. He's dead, he's been killed. Riguardo Nanjo. This was an instant death. Jessica e George confermano la morte di Nanjo. Nanjo non può essere un colpevole. Anche quello che dice Nanjo è vero. Who of the four is the culprit? Maria, Butler, George, Nissan and all of I couldn't have killed Dr. Nanjo. Non importa, qua abbiamo detto che può essere stata Kyrie. None of us could kill Dr. Nanjo inside the guest house. Va bene. This is proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. Questa è la parte un po'... Two corpses. Nanjo, judging by these wounds, Goda-san and Kumasawa-san died instantly. Goda-san and Kumasawa-san are both dead. Quindi sia Jessica che Nanjo confermano la morte di Goda e Kumasawa, quindi loro due non possono essere colpevoli. Goda e Kumasawa scagionati. Alibis. None of us have alibi, quello di Jessica. The four cousins and Dr. Nanjo couldn't have killed Goda-san and Kumasawa-san. Ok. Poi avevamo detto che è stata Kyrie. The guest room was completely locked, non sealed, ok. Fourth, Jessica. We all went outside to look for them. I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. She was dead. Shannon e Canon. Scagionati. Alibis. None of us has an alibi. E quindi di conseguenza se Canon è scagionato, anche Genji è scagionato. Anche Genji, la morte di Genji è confermata, è morto. Ok. Seconda. I unlocked the door. Kraus Summers raised prod on the door. Non importa. Dr. Nanjo checked their pulse and then he announced the two of them had died. Non abbiamo ancora la conferma di Butler. Nanjo, correct. I confirm both for their deaths. There can be no doubt that they died instantly. Kraus e Natsui scagionati. Ah scusa, visto che anche Maria è stata scagionata, anche Rosa è stata scagionata. Alibis for the servants, Shannon. They were all ok. E quindi questo scagionò tutti quanti i servant, ma preserving the crime scene. Oh, salve, grazie mille del ride, Frank, benvenuti. Siete arrivati ad un momento di picco qui. Maria, Jessica, we make sure that we seal the dining hall. We seal the mansion. The dining hall was locked up and covered in blood, ok. Checking the corpses, the death of each parent was confirmed by their child. Gente, vedete che qua è specchiato? Cioè, vedete anche se è specchiato. Sono solo loro che sono rimasti fuori. Rudolph, Kyrie e Butler. Sono gli unici rimasti fuori. Ah, tra l'altro, aspetta, ho appena notato. Butler non conferma la morte di nessuno se non quella dei suoi genitori. Tra l'altro. No, non siamo al finale. Questo è un gioco in cui noi dovevamo risolvere gli omicidi. È stato molto divertente. Di solito Qui è veramente picco Umineko di gameplay. Bellissimo. Va bene, buona. Locked in. Vediamo una cosa. By person. Se io volessi vedere... Ah, eccoli qua, tra l'altro, i morti e tutto il resto. Allora... Ah, no, non sono i morti, sono quelli che non hanno mai parlato perché sono morti alla prima Twilight, ok. Dr. Nanjo checked their pulse and then went... E in realtà tutto quanto è venuto fuori da questo, dalla frase di Butler della Seventh Twilight. This is proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. Questo è stato il picchetto che ha poi rotto tutto quanto. Che figata, che figata, che roba figa, va bene, va bene. Allora, pronti? The visitor who came late. Somebody! Is anyone there? ENG flew out of the guest house, sobbing. Was there anyone still alive on this island? When she checked the cousin's room earlier, it had been completely empty. However, she remembered that she hadn't seen Butler's body, or George's or Maria's. When she didn't know was whether this meant they were safe, or whether they was about to be reunited with them, or whether she was about to be reunited with them as corpses. Where are you guys? Where are you? Answer me! She dashed around through the rain. Where was she going? Nowhere in particular. The lost little sister dashed around in circles, searching for her brother, drenched with rain and all alone. Eventually, I thought I heard my brother's voice from beyond the bush. No, it wasn't just his voice. I heard George Onichan and Maria Onechan's voices too. I called out at the top of my lungs, but they didn't answer. But it's okay now, they're right here. They're right there, just on the other side of the fence. I could even faintly see them through the fence. When I ran around the fence, I found myself standing in front of a shed or something. It must be a shed to store tools for the rose garden. The three of them were standing in front of the shed. I cried out, but my voice didn't reach them, even though I yelled so loudly. Something felt very wrong about this. When people hear a voice, even when they pretend not to have heard it, their bodies tend to show some sign that they've noticed. However, there was no trace of that in the three of them. Even though I was screaming so loud, it truly wasn't reaching their ears. The instant I understood that, my dash towards them slowed down and came to a halt. Though we appeared to be in the same world, we were actually in different worlds entirely. It was like a TV, or was it more like ghosts? I could see them clearly, but as far as they were concerned, I didn't exist. After all, look. Even if I stand right in front of them, their eyes can't see me. And if I try and touch them, will I really be able to? What if my hand just goes right through? I was so scared at the thought that I could do nothing but stand there in shock, even though I was so close to them. Damn it! I don't have a clue anymore. Someone must have snuck in from outside the island after all. And that person massacred the Shiromiya family. No matter how much we lock ourselves in, someone always gets killed. Oh, it is the work of a witch after all. Everyone, calm down.
落ち着いて考えよう。
Let's calm down and think.
この島には
No one exists on this island except those with a direct relation to the Ushiramiya family.
そんなはずはねえぜ。
That doesn't make sense. After all, we've just seen several murders. It's been impossible for any of us.
それはそうだけど、
Well, that's true.
本当にそうだ
Is
ろう
it
か。
really?
僕たちには
Maybe
見
we've
落と
just
しがあるん
missed
じゃないだろ
something.
うか。
見落としって
Missed something?
例えば、
For example,
そうさ、
that's right. Maybe someone was playing
こ
dead.
の島に
Since we are the only ones on this island, the culprit must be one of us.
だとしたら僕
That
たち
would mean that someone we thought was dead was actually faking.
しかし兄貴
Aniki, that's impossible.
全員の死体を
Every one of the corpses was checked by someone.
死んだふりなんか
There's
絶
no
対に
way
できない
any
は
of
ずだ
them were faking.
考えたくもない。
I don't want to think about it, but
その
what if
検視さえも
those corpse inspections were also faked?
つまりこういうこ
What
と
I'm
さ。
getting at is
犯
this.
人は初め
There
か
were
ら
multiple culprits from the start.
そして
One plays dead, and the other lies and confirms that the first culprit died.
そして
Then the culprit who played dead keeps on committing crimes, creating the illusion that some stranger has snuck onto the
島に
island.
紛れ込んでいるかのような少女の兄貴
You still suspect someone in the Ushiramiya family of being the
誰が
culprit?
犯人だって南條先生
Dr. Nanjo was killed.
殺された以上
Since he was killed, it's probably safe to say that he wasn't a culprit. And we can consider the examination performed by a doctor like him to be the most reliable. If so, then we can probably assume that the people whose death Nanjo checked were almost certainly dead. Who did Nanjo check? Genji, Kraus and Natsui, and Shannon's, Goda and Kumasawa's.
最初
Think back to the beginning and the bodies in the dining
あの
hall.
6人の犠
All
牲者
those 6 victims, Dr. Nanjo only expected Genji-san.
マリアたちがそれ
But
ぞれ
didn't the rest of us check the others?
しかし
Yes, but Dr. Nanjo didn't actually inspect them himself.
何を言ってんだ
What are you talking about? How the hell could our parents have survived after being killed like that?
それに
Anyway, what do you think you're saying, Jojaniki? Wouldn't that mean that one of our parents is the culprit?
だって言ってんのかよそりゃねえ
That's
だろ
insane!
真っ先に殺されて
They were killed right at the beginning, and so many of them.
どうやって
How can you go calling our parents culprits on top of
なん
that?
て言えるんだよ許せね
I won't let anyone, not even you, suspect and slander our parents after they've been killed like that.
おい疑って恥ずかしめるなんてごめん
Sorry.
マリアのママは
I know my mama really was dead.
じゃあジョージ
So does that mean that Giorgio Nichan's parents and or Butler parents were the culprits?
もうよそ
Let's stop with that, Maria-chan.
僕もちょっと
I must have lost it a bit
混乱し
just
てた
now.
みたいだ
ジョージお兄ちゃん
George Anakin wouldn't kill Shannon.
もうよせよ
It's enough.
俺たちの誰
None
も
of us would kill our family, right?
殺したりするわけなんかねえだろ
だからジョージ
So I don't think Giorgio Onichan would lie and say his parents were dead. Not if they were really alive. There's no way you would help out in a crime if Shannon was going to be killed. Calmly, as though answering a quiz or a puzzle, Maria spoke to George. Then, with a blank look on her face, she turned to Butler and spoke. Butler, you saw your mom and dad's corpses, right?
ああ見たさ
Yeah, I saw
みんな
them.
も見ただろ
We all saw them, right?
血まみれで
Those pitiful blood-stained.
様で
I think you're lying.
どうしてそうなるんだよ
Where the hell did that come from? Because that way it all makes sense. Back in the dining hall, your parents weren't dead. One of them killed Aunt Natsui and Uncle Kraus, locked the door from the inside and waited in that room. The other one took over the murders after that. To break open the locked room of the guest house, they needed to have an accomplice inside. That was you. That explains everything.
いい加減にしろ
Enough!
よさない
Stop it,
か
Butler-kun.
マリアちゃんも
You too, Maria-chan. Finally, the pieces fit together in the wolves and sheep puzzles in my head. The culprits are Butler's family. Ooh, am I right? What the hell are you talking about?
正解よ
Correct. The voice came from behind Angel. She spun around, surprised. There, covered in blood, yet wearing cheery expressions, were Rudolph and Kyrie. Abbiamo avuto ragione.
キリおばさん
Rudolf Antikyrie,
無事で
I'm so glad you're safe. After saying that much, George realized what the words meant, and his face twisted into an expression of shock and horror. Maria wasn't surprised. However, she showed no joy at having her answer proven correct. As for Butler, Angie saw it. A terrible expression that she would never forget as long as she lived. It was a demon's smile. A hideous demon that she'd never be able to look at again twisted its face in a foul grin, and the truly horrible thing was that she saw it on her brother's face. That she saw it on her brother's face. Rudolf and Kyrie lifted up the guns they had been holding behind them. The barrels were pointed at the foreheads of George, who was staggering backwards, and Maria, who was grinning as though she didn't care what happened. There was a flash of lightning and a crack of thunder. Nothing more could be heard. Then, as George and Maria were snapped around by that roar, the strings holding them were snapped. The two dolls fell into puddles with a splash and stopped moving.
お父さん
Dad, Mom. All of this occurred right before Angie's eyes. Fammi vedere, esatto. La CG. Black Butler. Qua vi posso dire, vi ricordate quando vi ho mostrato il picchiaduro che vi ho detto che non posso mostrarvi la ultimate di Black Butler? È questa, la ultimate di Black Butler sono lui che ride e Rudolf e Kyrie che vengono fuori e sparano coi fucili. Angie, who stood stunned beside them, wasn't visible to their eyes. They gasped, overcome with laughter. Then, right in front of Angie, they started joking and complimented each other on their kills so far. The three hideous faces, the faces of her family, made Angie want to cry and vomit at the same time, and she felt as though she would suffocate. Angie dashed away, covering her mouth. She wanted to escape the disgusting laughter coming from her beloved family as soon as possible. Then she slipped and fell face down in a puddle of mud. Angie didn't try to get up. In fact, she instead chose to cover her ears and block out the disgusting laughter that she could still hear. And as she did, from the shadows of the fences and bushes of this inky black rose garden, several dark things leaped into sight. Angie looked around herself in surprise to see that eerie black shapes had appeared from all over the garden and were slowly surrounding her. It was a crowd of people with goat heads. Their outfits were all different. Some wore suits, while others were dressed casually. However, all of them were covered with darkness, and all of them had goat heads. Angie, bewildered, accidentally let her hands fall from her ears. By now, she couldn't hear that disgusting laughter. However, in its place, she could hear the words spoken by the goats. Kyrie and Rudolf are the culprits. Butler is the culprit. Butler is the culprit. Butler culprit theory. Butler's family culprit theory. All the goats continued to mumble in eerie voices. They surrounded Angie and began to draw nearer. They all pressed around her, each of them speaking of Angie's family as the culprits. At first, everyone had joined in on the Eva culprit theory. The sole survivor from Rock and Jim had gotten almost all the wealth to herself, so the theory was only natural. Why was Ushiromi Eva the only one who escaped to Eku Dorian? Did she refuse to so stubbornly to talk about... and why did she refuse so stubbornly to talk about what happened that day? It was decided that Eva culprit theory explained all of this. However, when Eva died of an illness, and people learned that all that vast wealth she had created by unscrupulously means would go to ENG, public opinion, or rather the forgers, created a new culprit theory and spread it around. This was the Rudolph's family culprit theory. If it was normal for everyone to come to the family conferences, why was ENG the only one who didn't come this time? Did the Rudolph's family have some reason for not bringing the young ENG with them? They did take Butler, but he wasn't Kirye's son. Then, when it was revealed in some magazines that Kirye's family had close ties to a massive gangster organization, all eyes suddenly gathered on Kirye herself. Then the truth was also laid bare about how Rudolph had made a killing out of fraudulent business practices, and almost immediately the couple began thought of as the most suspicious people on the island. Hideyoshi and Eva's company might have been rough, but at least it was operated within the law. However, the more Rudolph's company was investigated, the more dirt was dug up. Furthermore, trouble surrounding some party tickets from the time Rudolph and Kirye were students was also testified to. Furthermore, trouble surrounding some party tickets from the time Rudolph and Kirye were students, it was clear that they were far more suspicious than Eva's family. And also in a flash, the Rudolph family culprit theory expelled the other conspiracy theories, including the Eva culprit theory, and reigned as the greatest of them all. It wasn't really because it was more plausible than the Eva culprit theory, they just had gotten bored of the old theory and wanted a new sensation. The ghosts seemed to bend and undulate, the sky rapidly turned white, becoming a ceiling lit by fluorescent lamps. The ghosts had changed completely, becoming the shape of girls wearing goat masks. All of the girls were wearing the same clothes. It was a uniform, the uniform of Santa Lucia Academy. Did you hear that the real culprits were Rudolph and Kirye? Oh, I heard that. Yeah, I knew there was something suspicious about them leaving their kid behind. Didn't Ushiromi Eva say herself that she was being poisoned to death? Isn't it obvious who was behind that? Must have been nice for her. She gets her whole family riches all to herself, right? I always knew the Rudolph family culprit theory was right. I always thought there was something strange about Ushiromi-san. We always thought she was weird. Rudolph and Kirye did it. Wasn't Butler part of it too? Rudolph's family culprit theory. Rudolph and Kirye were the culprits. They tried to get the family wealth all to themselves, but they failed at the hands of Eva. But in the end, Ushiromi ENG gets everything anyway, doesn't she? Rudolph and Kirye are the culprits, of course. Rudolph's family culprit theory. Rudolph and Kirye and Butler did it. Rudolph and Kirye and Butler did it. They're saying your family did it, Ushiromi-san. What do you think of that? Come on, tell us. But in the end, you get all of your family's wealth to yourself, don't you? Even at the end, Ushiromi Eva never told you anything, right? I always knew there was something wrong with that girl. This will also explain why Eva hated you so much. Hey, say something, tell us what you think. She really is a creepy kid, isn't she? At least say something about what you think of the theory, you sicko. A blade of air swept over me as I crashed down, holding my head. In a flash, the illusion of the goat-headed girl students who were surrounding me shattered. I was curled up in a puddle in the rainy rose garden surrounded by goats. But then these goats were also sliced in half and the upper half slid to the side. It was like seeing a master swordman slicing through a stick of bamboo.
こっち
This way. This voice came from that black cat. The black cat with the bell that had guided me here. Incredible that he can talk. But that doesn't matter now. I dashed after it. The goats shrank back. A hole opened in their encirclement. The black cat dashed through it. As I hurried through after it, the goats began to chase after me. Countless heavy footsteps thundered behind us.
どこまで逃げるの
Where are we running to, Mr. Cat? The cat ignored my stupid question. Where are we running to? It's obvious, as far away as we can make it. However, there were an unbelievable amount of goats. It wasn't just the group chasing us, there were probably goats hiding throughout the rose garden, and everywhere we went, a group of them would appear and block our path. Each time we bumped into them, we ran down a different path in this maze of a rose garden. So I didn't even know which direction we were running in anymore. It couldn't be that we're just running around in circles inside a massive crowd of goats, could it? When we ran into the arbor once more, I learned that my fears were justified. The 4 paths that led from the arbor were all blocked by a crowd of goats. Of course, the path we had come down was also blocked by our pursuers. There was nowhere to go, nowhere to return to. We were finally trapped. Mr. Cat, what should we do? We're surrounded. With a defensive posture, the black cat glared at the ghosts that surrounded us. It's all over for us. At that moment, I found myself floating in the air. A massive arm, large enough to crush my entire head, had grabbed my collar from behind. Before I could even cry out, I saw right in front of my face a pair of strangely glowing red eyes and a massive mouth with jagged teeth and a foul breath. The mouth opened wide, and writhing as though it was a separate creature, a disturbing tongue stuck itself out. Then he spat words at me. Rudolph, Kyrie, and Butler are the culprits. Rudolph and Kyrie played dead, and Butler lied when he expected them. Then, one of the parents carried out the murders until the second twilight and hid under the bed in Natsu's room. Butler killed Shannon and then assisted in the murders in the guest house. The other parent carried out the gruesome murders. This is the truth. Then the gaping, smelly mouth slowly began to close over Angel's head.
反論
Counter.
ルドルフ一家犯人説
It's
以外
possible to form a logical theory other than the Rudolph's family culprit theory. A blue flash sliced off the top of the mouth that was trying to eat Angel's head, sending it flying. It fell into a puddle along with the goat that was still grasping my collar, though there was nothing left of it above its jaw. Without any hesitation, the ghost stretched out their thick arms as though this was their chance to snatch this prey from themselves, and they rushed towards me. All of them spoke in unison. Everything except the Rudolph's family culprit theory is impossible. Absolutely impossible. It's possible to form a logical theory other than the Rudolph's family culprit theory. For example, a theory with George's family as the culprit is possible. A red flash and a blue line became blades of wind that passed over my head, flew at the ghost that tried to pick me up and sliced both of its arms off like a knife through butter. I think the next goat dashed, not towards me, but towards the black cat that was protecting me from behind. As I sat on my butt staring up at the rainy night sky, the massive ghosts were in the air right above me, fighting the black cat or someone. The George family corporate fear is impossible. George can't kill Shannon. So he can't be the culprit. He can't fake when checking corpses. No, it's possible. A culprit is defined as one who murders. It never says that they had to murder someone who appears in the story. In other words, if George committed murder outside the island sometime before the crime, he could be a culprit without killing anyone on the island, and it would be possible for him to lie. Their deep red curves cut by the swings bit into the goat. Its massive body was knocked into the air, became a bundle of roughly 7 logs of flesh, and was thrown into the rose bushes. This time, the terrible force of the attacks shocked the goats. They faltered, shook, stepped back. Finally, I understood. That red slice. It had come from a weapon that draws red trails. No, it had also drawn blue trails just a second ago. A massive sight that could speak both types of truth, red and blue, at will. I looked up at the sky, then I let my head hang down backwards. There was no black cat there. It was a girl, holding a large sight. How's that? A deduction like this is trivial for Furudo Erika.